go to Croatia without going to Serbia.
Yeah.
Because they're not whole war they have between the two countries. So they blow themselves.
For real, huh? That's crazy.
So he's like, yeah, I'm not gonna.
Done with that.
Done with it.
Moors don't want their birthright. Might as well come over here and shit. Islam, Moors. Islam, 5 2 on the right. Allah, Father of the universe.
Allah, Father of the universe.
Father of love.
Father of love.
Truth.
Peace.
Freedom.
And
justice.
Allah
is my protector.
Allah is my protector.
My guide.
And
my salvation.
my salvation.
By night.
And
by day.
Through
our holy prophet. Noble Juali. Islam. Islam. Prophet warns all Muslims, governors ordered to read proclamation at each meeting. I hereby inform all members that they must end our just started up. All right. I hereby inform all members that they must end all radical, agitating speeches while at work in their homes or on the streets. We are for peace and not destruction. Stop flashing your cards at Europeans. It causes confusion. Remember, your card is for your salvation. Failure to obey these orders will be of severe consequence. We are for love, truth, peace, freedom, and when these principles are violated, justice must then take its course. Any member or group of members who hold malicious feelings toward the temple or the prophet or violate the divine covenant of the Moorish movement will receive their reward from Allah for their unjust deeds. All true Moors will and must obey the laws as laid down to them by their prophet. If they lose confidence in their prophet, they should turn in their card and button, cease wearing their turban and fez, and return to the state where I, the prophet, found you. This is a holy and divine movement founded by the prophet Noble Ali. And if the prophet is not right, the temple is not right. The prophet therefore is sending out a divine plea to all Moorish Americans that they do their part in protecting their prophet and the temple. This is an everlasting movement founded by the prophet through the will of Allah to redeem his people from their sinful ways. Noble Ali. Islam. To be proclaimed at every meeting. Islam. I am glad to know that I have a few faithful Moors among you all, and I desire for them to know the truth and the divine truth. There is a host of jealousy about me and the movement now by the same people of our side of the nation that claim that I was only a joke and unreal. But now, since they have found out from the government officials and the nations of the earth that this is the only sole foundation that all Asiatics must depend upon for their earthly salvation as American citizens, they are working every scheme that they can to disqualify me so they may take charge of the situation. I have notified all these things to you long ago in the past. It is through the faithful Moors that attribute to the movement and uplifting funds. The ones that paid their divine respect to me and the movement will be remembered. That is why I am calling upon all faithful Moors to increase their faithfulness to me, your prophet, and your divine Moorish movement. I need finance and I need it badly. Never before have I needed finance so badly as I do at present, so I can shove aside the discord that is facing the nation. It all comes through jealousy because of my fame and nobility. The nations of the world will not recognize the movement without I, the prophet, being head. It has been proven by my works, which I have performed in the past few years. Prophet Noble Ali. Islam. To the members of the Moorish Science Temple of America, Islam. This is the instruction from your Prophet Noble Ali. Be faithful unto your forefathers' divine and national creed, that you would be blessed for your good deeds that you sow in the flesh. Allah is the one that judges the world, and his judgment is now on, but the weak can comprehend it not. The end of time is drawing near, so says Allah to his divine prophet, I, Noble Ali. And that's why many hearts have been turned to stone. Many have eyes to see, but cannot see. Ears to hear, but cannot hear. Least they will be confounded of their sins. These are trying hours now, dear Moors, and every evil spirit is moving. And they are trying every weak mind to overthrow and drag out the true foundation that has been laid, and to cause confusion in the minds of the ones that do believe. But if you have the true love of Allah and the spirit of your forefathers, you fear not what you hear or see, but would sacrifice the utmost of your very life to protect your movement and your prophet. Watch your enemies, dear Moors. Your enemies are the ones that speak against your prophet and ridicule him to the very lowest, and the ones that speak against your divine and national principles of your temples. Act accordingly, and Allah will bless you for your good work. Peace, your divine prophet, Noble Ali. Islam. Islam, Moors. So we got Back to Basics 8 today. We're gonna go through couple resolutions. We got one letter from Alderman Roderick T. Sawyer from 2019, Peacemore, and House Resolution 0930 for Chicago, and as well looking over this Bill C-15. That's good. What's that, right? Looking over this Bill C-15, and the act respecting the United Nations Declaration on the Rights of Indigenous People from December 2020. So on January 15th, 2020, City of Chicago Office of the City Clerk put out a resolution recognizing Prophet Noble Drew Ali on the 134th anniversary of his birth and designation of January 8th through January 15th as Moorish American Week in Chicago. Resolution honoring the 134th anniversary of the birth of Prophet Noble Drew Ali. Now, again, this is part of the acknowledgement that we see a lot, whether it's the proclamations from all the different states, whether it's a few years ago there was a Mason that did like an hour acknowledgement of Drew Ali's solar return. There's all these different aspects of recognition that plays a part in us having the ability to exercise certain things, not only in the exercising, but also in the relating this information to others, that they can see that it's not just a us thing. It's not just something that, we're nitpickers and calling people black and whatever like that, that this is a thing that everybody, especially the people who our people would consider to be government or whatever the case is, that they acknowledge certain things that the Moors have already established. We're gonna do something on Brother Vincere sent me something with Kevin Annette, this European / Métis, that now they have some republic whatever that they're doing now, talking about the Republic of Kanata, and they got a flag and they got all this stuff telling the indigenous people to come on their stuff and whatever like that, which again is the acknowledgement, is the resolution, what Noble Drew Ali did in the 20s. There's people today, change the flag, take the star off, put a horn on it, do little certain stuff to make it seem like they're doing their own thing, right? When everybody's jacking off Drew Ali, everybody's jacking off the Moors, like we said with the Maroons, these mans have fezzes now, you know what I mean? And they don't got the bootleg fez like you see some people that they got the official, yeah. They got the 7-incher. So we know that there's an impact that Moors are having. So we want to acknowledge all the Moors that stuck to the program of what Drew Ali presented. I want to honor the Moors near Canaanland for sticking to the principles and supporting their temple out here, because the work that has been done is having an impact. It might not appear to be that based on us engaging people out there, the pushback, um, us being in these institutions, for people, you know, the line not going out the door, and then we might think, oh man, this stuff is not working or whatever. This stuff is working. This is reaching people in places that we would never reach. But praise Allah for literature and active Moors and vocal Moors that put certain things out there so that the word could get out regardless of how trying the work is. So this is the resolution honoring the 134th anniversary of the birth of Prophet Noble Drew Ali by Roderick T. Sawyer, Alderman for Chicago's 6th Ward. Whereas on January 8th, 1886, Prophet Noble Drew Ali was born in the state of North Carolina, destined to become the first patriot and founding father of the Moorish Divine National Movement. It was the Noble Drew Ali's belief that the African Americans were all Moors, descendant from the ancient Moabites, thought to be inhabitants of Northwest Africa. Whereas in 1913, Noble Drew Ali founded the Canaanite Temple in Newark, New Jersey, and established congregations in Philadelphia, Pennsylvania, Washington, D.C., and Detroit, Michigan. In 1925, he arrived in Chicago to establish the Moorish Science Temple of America as the headquarters of his Moorish Divine National Movement, a network of alternative spiritualities that focused on the power of the individual to bring about personal transformation through mystical knowledge of the divine within. And whereas it was in this city that Prophet Noble Drew Ali built a civic organization to teach those things necessary to make his adherents better citizens. Since his work was largely religious in accordance with the divine inspiration of God Allah and the laws of the state of Illinois, on July 20th, 1928, Prophet Noble Drew Ali convened a meeting of his followers to formally adopt this religious body politic under the corporate aegis of the Moorish Science Temple of America, filing as a religious institution on August 1st of the same year with the Cook County Recorder of Deeds of Office, and declared to all the Moorish Americans everywhere that Chicago, Illinois will be their new Mecca. And whereas it is the fervent belief of the congregants of the Moorish Science Temple of America that until the coming of the universal prophet Drew Ali, the resurrected nation of Moorish Americans, who as a result of the 13th Amendment were emancipated from slavery in 1865, but had yet to reestablish and reunite themselves with the human family of nations. And whereas, having drawn its power and authority from the great Quran of Muhammad and guided by Allah, as well as the 5 highest principles known to man, love, truth, peace, freedom, and justice, it is the mission of the Moorish Science Temple of America to propagate the faith and extend the learning and truth of the great Prophet Noble Drew Ali throughout this nation. Now, therefore, be it resolved that we, the mayor and members of the City of Chicago City Council, gathered together on this 18th day of December 2019, do hereby designate the 8th of January 2020 as Prophet Noble Drew Ali Day, and January 8th through the 15th of 2020 as Moorish American Week in the city of Chicago, the Moorish American Mecca, in honor of the 134th anniversary of the birth of his holy and divine prophet of God Allah and his magnanimous work of redeeming the Moorish Americans, as well as uplifting fallen humanity worldwide, and recognize the events planned for this time. Be it further resolved that a suitable copy of this resolution be prepared and presented to Brother Shaw L., Grand Governor and Divine Minister of Moorish Science Temple of America, Temple number 25, Roderick T. Sawyer, December 16th, 2019. How many thoughts on that? So as we go through some of these paragraphs, so second paragraph, whereas in 1913, Noble Drew Ali founded the Canaanite Temple in Newark, New Jersey, and established congregations in Philadelphia, Pennsylvania, Washington, D.C., and Detroit, Michigan. In 1925, he arrived in Chicago to establish the Moorish Science Temple of America as a headquarters of his Moorish Divine and National Movement, a network of alternative spiritualities that focused on the power of the individual to bring about personal transformation through mystical knowledge of the divine within. That's saying a lot as far as what this is about, in relation to people who just go by what they hear, what they see. They don't check into anything or whatever like that. They just figure, this is what they think it is, right? The network of alternative spiritualities is going into the recognition of all the different prophets. All the different prophets having a different mode of relaying the information, right? Like we say, if you go into the Hindu aspect, you have all the tantric energy stuff. If you go into the Buddhist, you have all the meditation. All right, Mark. Hope all's well. Peace, Mark. Once you go into the Jesus teachings, you have all the Gnostic mysticism. You go into the Islamic, you got the Sufism, you have the Islamic mysticism, things that are a lot more geared, peace more, a lot more geared to us finding out who we are within, not necessarily who we are as the body. So for them to acknowledge this, specifically the network of alternative spiritualities, and then we're not included in the network of spiritualities. We're not looking at, him teaching holistic health. We're not talking about all the different chapters in the Quran dealing with, how the children should act, how the parents should act, how the father and the mother and whatever. We're not dealing with any of that yet, right? We're just dealing basically with recognizing all the prophets, the fact that there's all these prophets, and that the lessons of all these prophets are able to be switched around. So you can take the Islamic teachings, give them to a Buddhist. You take the Christian teachings, give them to Zoroastrian. You could take whatever the teachings of the prophets are. You could take those things and apply them to any people in any time frame, and the lessons are going to be the same, right? When we look at Noble Drew Ali and his impact as a prophet, these are some of the things that we could use as reference points for other people who might be in doubt, people who would be thinking that they have something figured out when they really don't, because they don't have the teachings of Noble Drew Ali resonating with them, right?
And also in line with what he says, for those who think this is a joke and it's unreal.
Mm-hmm.
Right? Because if it was a joke and unreal, Congress wouldn't be recognizing certain things, the whole Moorish Divine National Movement, right?
Right.
If it was a joke and unreal.
If it was a joke and unreal. Right. Also, too, when you read not only this letter, but if you go through all the different proclamations, you know that they're directly excerpting from Noble Drew Ali's literature. They're not going to some outside thing to find out what this is. Right. They're quoting line for line.
Right, yeah.
what Noble Drew Ali already presented in the 20s, right? Whereas in 1913, whereas it was in this city that Prophet Noble Drew Ali built a civic organization to teach those things necessary to make his adherents better citizens. Since this work was largely religious, peace more. Yeah. Since this work was largely religious, in accordance with the divine inspiration of God Allah and the laws of the state of Illinois on July 20th, 1928, Prophet Drew Ali convened a meeting of his followers, peace more, of his followers to formally adopt this religious body politic under the corporate aegis of Morris Science Temple of America, filing as a religious institution on August 1st of the same year with the Cook County Recorder of Deeds office, and declared to the Moorish Americans everywhere that Chicago, Illinois will be their new Mecca. So Chicago, Illinois, if they know that Chicago, Illinois is going to be the new Mecca of the Moors, then there should be no Moors talking about Mecca over there being something that has some type of relevance to Moors. If these people right here know that Chicago is going to be the Moorish American Mecca, then that's specifically for Moorish Americans, right? So whatever the idea is that people have of Noble Drew Ali's version of Islam versus whatever other stuff, whatever else is out there, is warped if they're not looking at it from the perspective of Drew Ali, right? Them going into the Moorish literature and pulling these things out should be enough to show that what Drew Ali was saying was definitely on point, right? Whereas in the current fervent belief of the congregants of the Moorish Science Temple of America, that until the coming of the universal prophet Drew Ali, the resurrected nation of Moorish Americans, who as a result of the 13th Amendment were emancipated from slavery in 1865, but had yet to reestablish and reunite themselves with the human family of nations. Right. So again, giving away the key with regard to slavery, and the fact that not because somebody freed you means you're free. Not because the chains are off and you're off the plantation and there's no more master chasing you, there's no more slave patrol chasing you, and some government came out and said slavery's over and whatever, means that you're free. Until the coming of the universal prophet Drew Ali, they had yet to reestablish and reunite themselves with the human family of nations. And when we look at the human family of nations, we see that everybody's dealing with nationality, and we realize that even today still nationality is the order of the day. But at the same time, we could see how they're going about undermining this order of the day nationality by not talking about it at all, right? By not bringing it up. And then if they're bringing it up, they're bringing it up from some perspective of state national, or they're bringing up from the idea of some corpse being part of some citizen of some corpse makes you part of the human family, right?
Yeah, but I had been thinking about this earlier, that the aspect behind that to me isn't, to me, I was thinking about, as I was saying, I was thinking about the aspect that once we have let them know that we know what's up, part of what I think of this, I mean, I'm continuing to liken this back to Sundry Free Moors. I don't care what that guy wants to be.
Yeah.
but I'm this.
I'm this. Yeah.
If I told you that and I've gone to you in an intelligent tone,
Mhm.
you better be hopefully honoring that.
Yeah.
Because that's what's supposed to happen here.
Mhm.
But what I've noticed is that they're not playing fair.
Yeah.
Because as I said, I don't care if you want to be black, if you want to do whatever, fair enough.
Mhm.
Giving you the opportunity. I was in the conveyance with the corporate with the embassy plates on yesterday, and there's been this Mercedes Benz that I've been seeing. I think these guys are slinging.
Yeah.
At the end of the day, it's this Hindustani man. As I was warming the car up, remember I was telling you I was driving around in the garage. He sees me.
Yeah.
And I see him go down. I kept looking at him. I said, "Oh, I guess he's not one of our people," because that's what the impression I got from how the work was laid out. If you know what I mean, the tints and the whatever, looking like a pimp mobile, right? I get it. And it's a Hindustani man. Anyways, he's been checking the plate out.
Yeah.
Thought it was a government plate. Wanted to get one.
Yeah.
And then he comes and he goes, "Moorish?" Right? He says to me, "Moorish." I go, "Moorish." He goes, "Well, how do I get one of those?" I said, "Well, brother, you're part of this." I said, "But really, putting these on your conveyance is only going to be putting a cross on your back."
Yeah.
I said, "Really, what you want to do is come and get the information." I said, "We're basically on the same." But what I've also realized is with them, that there's this collective nationality that keeps them at a certain level.
Yeah.
They're Hindustani or whatever they are, and they're going to be driving a Merc.
Yeah.
And they're going to be carrying around a laptop, you know what I mean? Because that's their standard.
Yeah.
That's the other thing I realized. We have no standards.
Yeah.
Right? So we're basically bandied about by whatever standards people want to set for us, right? Gucci, Nike. These are our.
It's all right. Come on. Yeah.
These are our standards. But back to the whole aspect of the sundry free Moors. Like I come out there with my embassy plates on. I went up to my boys' place this year with the embassy plates on. Right? And on the way back, I kept thinking about policy enforcer, right? Just like you willing it into. But I was also saying, I'm here for love. I'm here for love, right? So I'm doing this right on the way back, but I'm feeling this thing. I get to a block away from my house, and I live a block away from the head office there. And I'm on this street. And as I come to take a right, isn't there a policy enforcer right in there? You remember I got drawn down just 3 weeks ago, right? So, and I'm thinking to myself, why am I doing this? Because I also have a conveyance that I have a car that has corporate plates on it, right? And when you travel like that, you don't get, for the most part,
even
hassle.
if those plates are expired or whatever like that.
Whatever. Back 10 years ago, I was driving around with 7 plates, hadn't renewed the sticker in 7 years. Went down on a speeding beef on my way to Montreal to get my hip. Then I went to the embassy plates. But as I said, put these guys on notice. They know that this is your land. But it's business as usual.
But like you said, with the Hindustanis, their concept is nationality.
Absolutely.
Right. The issue that we have is that our people's concept is nationality.
Absolutely not.
Across the board. We have this splintered thing with all these different identities or whatever the case is. So when we look at all the other people of the world, they don't have a group of their people saying that they're Negro, black, colored. All of them are national.
Well, hold on. That was very interesting because there's a couple of things where they kept mentioning the term coolie. There's a couple, and I realized that coolie, I think, is a Hindustani term for their nigger, isn't it?
Yeah.
So, but it was interesting how they were relating the coolie aspect to that. And this is what I was realizing today, the last couple of days, it's all in the language. Call yourself black, bro, you're in trouble.
Just like call yourself coolie.
As that spell represents. That's why any other nation, as long as even calling yourself Jamaican, you're a half step up. Even though you're a mess, right? Trinidad and Tobago, you're even better, right? You know what I mean?
Is it safe to say that the policy enforcers are they can assume that we're engaging in commerce, so that way their approach to us is always going to be like kind of hostile, even if we're trying to,
No, I want to interrupt. What it's all about is about a mandate that they put down that somehow this paper law, which is province of Ontario, somehow supersedes,
or country of Canada or city of Toronto
supersedes the Aboriginal rights to the aspect of you traveling on your land.
Sure.
And somehow that not because at the end of the day, as he pulled me over, the only thing that stopped me from him saying that I could not get out of there was because my corporate, their license had there was an issue that had it suspended. But he pulled me over with the embassy plates.
Yeah.
They saw the plates, and when he pulled up, and they were like, and then all of a sudden I said, "Oh shit!" Remember I told you, shit is going down.
Yeah.
So then I pulled into a private lot. I think that protected me. And then the last thing that protected me, there was a Trini man. He was from Trinidad. There's that energy from when you see your country people too. You just know it, right? So I'm like, we're indigenous, we're Americans. You could see him, like he was like, you could see he was like that, but his cop was European, a European man. And they come out now and they're recording everything now. I don't know if you noticed that. If you've had any interactions with them now, everything's now on body cam. Right? Then they came back and said, because I gave my indigenous name. And then they came back and they said, and then they mentioned my straw. And I said, I want to go home. Right? So I linked it to the straw. Once that happened, it was business as usual, commerce, and they were gone.
They were gone and you were gone.
So isn't it for them to think even still, because they're not used to seeing us?
Yeah.
So if they've already kind of positioned certain groups off the mainland to say, oh, you live in a designated area and certain things like that. Yeah. They're not going to know that we're mixing up with their business even still, right? Because they're not really expecting us to be here. They're expecting us to be somewhere else where the Amish people are, whatever the case might be. You know?
And the other side of that is that when they do pull over people who look like us, majority of the time they're just giving them a license.
Right.
So they're going with the
compliance,
with the normal compliance is automatically
the next step. That to me, it's within the duty of people that are honorable to let their people know. And what you end up finding out is most times that are not, these guys have dealt with someone who's playing that line. Definitely probably isn't in the temple, or we would have heard about it. But so they've had interactions in the courts. They've seen that so-called free men on the land, or what we might call dirty Moors, or some
European version of standing on rights or whatever.
Most of them have started to touch a bit of it. It's just that what we know, and that's what they've said to us, that their higher ups are still saying business as usual. Yeah. So what this is to me is about them knowing absolutely what's true, but they're just going to ride it out because probably at least three-quarters of the people they meet are saying they're black. Yeah. So they're just going to, like Cujo says, they're going to go with that.
It's funny because my cousin's a field police officer. I've been in about 3 years now. Yeah. He watches my Instagram, whatever I post, he's just, I can catch him, I see him, and he watches. Yeah. But I talked to him about it, and he told me, like, they call them free, sovereign people?
Free men on the land,
that's what they know certain people. I don't know if they link that to Moors or they link that to Europeans that are just doing that for whatever case might be. But he knows every now and again I'll try to pick something out of his brain and see what he can offer up, I guess.
Well, again, too, like the idea of all those different things for sovereignty that they identify. Free man on the land, Moors, sovereign citizen, whatever. All these things, they just have all those things together, right? And as far as their training or their however they relay that information to all the different policy enforcers or whatever. But like Omar was saying, like we've dealt with some of them in the stops, and like the last one time when we got stopped, the guy said, "Yo, I seen something like this before, but." The guys who we dealt with, they weren't like you guys. You know what I mean? They didn't have intelligent tone and all that stuff. They were very abrasive and, forceful and whatever like that. We could actually sit there and have a conversation with you guys or whatever like that. Part of that, that interaction or them sort of yielding to it is really just the individual that they're dealing with. But that's not the policy.
So hold on.
That's the individuals.
Just to check you, I was late today because I work in an industry where we have a union, right? Sort of, and union reflective of nationality, whatever, right? Cujo does work too where he has that. I come from the aspect that everything relates to everything. So I go to this meeting today. Well, aren't they talking about instilling a mandatory workplace respect seminar or what do you call it? Certificate or basically program that you have to do now. Seminar, but something that's mandatory across the whole thing. You're going to have to take a workplace respect seminar, right? Kind of like your health and safety thing, or your women's thing, right? These are mandatory things within certain dynamics. But you think to yourself, how come the policy enforcers haven't sat down with their people and given them mandatory training on how to deal with indigenous, right? On what things to expect, because yet again, these are the thugs that they have on the street that are just gonna carry business on as usual until we can come to, some kind of unification.
Right, and coming to that unification is the nationality piece that all the Negro, Black, colored people need to get on. As far as the unity with our people, because the issue with them continuing to violate rights and violate laws and violate whatever else they want to violate is because our people are stateless. So it gives them the leeway to be able to do certain things that are unlawful.
So, you gotta check this one. For example, this is why it's all weirdly connected. I went up to my friend's place yesterday to do a little cleanse, and on the way back they were talking about, if you guys heard the news, this brother, Moore, got thrown down by the police and tased and handcuffed. Heard about that?
Yeah.
But they said
The BLM sister, the BLM guy.
Yeah, the BLM.
whatever it was, right? But they said a black man was, and then they went on to mention his name as Abdul whatever. What you realize in there, they were throwing the spell that this was a black guy, but he was really a national.
Yeah. Yeah.
He's really a fucking national. Excuse my language. He's really a national who is fighting on that premise. They're trying to say it's just some black guy. Sorry, we made a mistake.
Yeah.
Right. So it's all right there.
Yeah.
Also, I also look at it like this is a corporation, so it's all about consumerism when it comes to dealing with our people. Just like what GS is saying, with the whole aggression thing and all this, that, and the third. Like, we're national. We have national standards. So even talking to them, we already know that these people are just, they're minions. They don't really know that much.
Really get it. Yeah.
They're just set people. So, even when I had my interaction with them, like I had an interaction with them way back when I was out in it's called Gatman or something like that, right? What you call this? The mercenaries, you know what I mean? Like those type of people, the highwaymen. Yeah, they had an issue when I brought up my nationality card because it was just like, whoa, what is this? You know what I mean? Like you looked at the back, there's nothing scamming or this, that, and the third. Like, what's going on?
Yeah.
So the lieutenant came, or their lieutenant came, I should say, and saying like, yo, you have to let this guy go because they tried to search in my wallet and look for the straw man stuff.
Yeah.
Even,
They always need the straw.
even the lieutenant knows
Yeah.
that can't go on in court because what I mean? Like,
Can't search without a warrant.
for one,
Yeah.
that's what I chose to identify myself with. With that card. Also, they went into the card and did basically like an illegal search and seizure. Because I had to learn that when back in the day when I was on road. You know what I mean? Like closed backpacks and all those stuff. You know what I mean?
Right.
But yeah, when it comes to the national aspect, it's just literally just our people. A lot of our people don't even back us, to be honest.
Yeah.
That's the aspect too. It's not like there are a part of our people that say like, okay, I get the Moors, but I'm not really ready for it yet, so I'm kind of just staying in the black mode.
Yeah.
So they're like diss the Moors.
Yeah,
You guys know what you're talking about.
Yeah.
You got some dumb Negroes and this, that, and the third. And then they look at that and they treat us how we treat each other. It's like when the bottom treat us with such aggression because we treat each other with such aggression.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like I say all the time, like like the man don't want to hear me say this, but hey, I say this still. When you're on the block chilling at night, who are you really more afraid of? The bottom that's gonna come to you and harass you, or are you afraid of a man that looks like you that's probably gonna try to score a point on you?
Yeah.
Well,
You know what I'm trying to say?
Yeah.
And I go back to what you're saying. I feel like the Commonwealth kind of has that standard too because they kind of, the British and everything like that. So there's a little bit more honorability, I guess you could say, towards the people. Whereas people in the States now, the free occupiers or whatever you want to call them, like, I mean, we've been painting ourselves as this color for so long. They've been portraying it on Hollywood now, so that every time they stop us now, they feel like there's some hostility. So even when we try to address ourselves as such.
I just want to interject for half a second. I think that's part of the lie too. It can't have been that long that we were calling ourselves black. This has been the lie.
In reality, it wasn't.
No, but that's what I'm saying. For us, this is generational. 2 generations ago, they knew about us being indigenous. Anyways, go on. Sorry, I just wanted to make that as a point.
Because I've seen some stuff online too with Moors, and then they're speaking in an intelligent tone to the brother, and the brother's getting hostile, the police officer getting hostile, he's just on edge, goes and calls the sergeant. Sergeant comes now, and then, you know, I mean, tell him the same thing, then goes and gets the lieutenant. Lieutenant's just like basically like, all right, then just get out of here then, kind of like, what you still doing here, you know? And just keep pushing, you know? But you can see like, it's just how they're just vexed.
Yeah.
Like they don't want to be in a subordinate position to us. Yeah. So it's like, that's why like, I feel like the hostility is there. Well, and then in hindsight, it's like they turned a lot of our aggression now inwards because we're not able to get out of that mental state that we're in now, because now we're you know what I mean? Well, everything's all towards us now.
I think you're exactly right, but I think where the internal aggression is that we have, that's what I realized, these people have been in here murdering and killing us. And we'll go around top of the morning, keep shaking their hands, everything, you know, even me, I'm at my workplace union thing saying top of the morning to these guys, right? These guys are talking about nigger this and nigger that. Now, of course, we know that doesn't connect, but we understand that that's the bias that they're having towards you. That's been ingrained in them. Somehow in us, you know, we'll talk about, you know, white bread and honky, but we ain't really hating on them. So I was talking about last week, the way that they're hating on us from the perspective of what this is really about, right? They've got twisted in their mind that somehow we've come over here and we're raping their women or some shit like that, right? And selling dope. That's sort of the story, right? When it's absolutely opposite. They came in, they're the ones that are here and have done that.
I almost look at it like I think it's Esau in the Bible, and he tricked his dad or something like that,
right?
From putting the cloak on him or something like that, or putting the cloak on him, and he tricked his dad. He took the blood rights and everything like that from the older brother when he was supposed to go to the older brother. Yeah. I feel like it's just them, like they're the younger brothers, but you know what I mean. It's like, and then look at us now. We're supposed to be in our here's.
No, I was basically, we'll take this in. They basically chat to us on a daily basis. What did Trudeau say the other day? There's a rise in authoritarian leaders, and he's saying this as Moors are trying to come into themselves. Yeah. Who's the real authority on this land?
Absolutely.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So they chat to us all the time. You know what I mean? Like they as far as like even the whole like putting them on notice.
They have been put on notice.
They've been put on notice.
That was the last thing that we needed to report to you guys. We put out this report to the UN, to their international criminal justice thing in terms of atrocities done by colonization. So on January 6th, they reported something back to us. I just found that yesterday. I'm going to find it tonight, but we'll have some word to the claims that we've been having on the atrocities that we've been facing. Now, one of the things Cujo's talked about, and we've talked about this too. I mean, if we're out there this is part of the other thing that I was thinking about. They really haven't put enough pressure on us for us to really be reacting. You know, this is what I noticed. They just put enough, right? You notice it's just ramping up a little bit more now, right? But they really haven't had us up in arms, really, right? And that because they know that they want to keep us docile. Keep watching LeBron, keep watching some football. You don't have a war coming over here. It's all about human enslavement. Yeah. Right?
On a mass, on a global scale.
Right. Yeah. But more importantly, from the people like us who are denationalized, we don't even, as I said, you see these Hindustanis. Look at what's going on here in the city now. Yeah. The Hindustanis and the Manchurians are here.
Yeah. They're here on some they're hardwired in now. Yeah.
Well, you know what I realized? They ain't even hardwired in. What I see is these guys walking into a house and the owners are here, but we're all stoned. Yeah. And they're looking around going, what's going on here? They can't make a move without us. The Europeans still running this like that because we've given it. Because really, it's about them stepping down. Those people are just there from what I would see in
custodial.
But not even that. Just it's over. Yeah. But they still got this guy there because we haven't gone and done anything.
Mm-hmm. And it's that you have to. Like our people have to kind of see that we are the nation. You know what I mean? Instead of looking for something. You know what I mean? It's like,
well, the TV I told you to. I realized this that screen that we have. That was something that I've been thinking about. This was that dastardly plan to put a screen in every one of our hands. Yeah. You know what I mean? They've now got us controlled. Everything. Think about your mail. Everything now comes through this device. 8, 10 years ago, they put this thing, you didn't realize this. Now you can't do anything without having an email address. Yeah. Cell phone. You ever see payphones anymore?
Even when you're talking about cell phone, people don't even talk on cell phone. You don't even talk on cell phone anymore.
Anyways, but that in itself is the recipe for their end as well. Because what they've done now is they put us all back together again.
Yeah.
Right? Because what it was about dividing us. The problem is that the spell that's still been going on within our communities and families is still here. My mom wrote this book about this slave ship that went down from Africa, and she's going on this premise that we're all from. I said, why don't you go back? How come no one's going back? How come no one's going back home?
Yeah.
We're slaves today. We know where we're from. Why aren't we going back home?
Yeah.
What the fuck's going on here? We're crazy. We're nuts.
Yeah.
The gun for
Right? Oh, hold on. But then check this out. But then she reads. You remember that European guy saying that they were saying that you remember where that little thing from YouTube where the European guy was saying that they found evidence of us being here.
Yeah.
Before that, you remember that? So she saw it, and all of a sudden,
Yeah.
well, you see. So wait, hold on. So if we were here before, shouldn't that?
Yeah,
Right?
and
we realize that it just goes right over their head.
Yeah. Yep.
It's also Stockholm syndrome too. I realized it.
Most definite.
It's the last part that we have to break out of.
Most definite.
Also consumerism.
Well, consumerism to me is a byproduct of life in general. And consumerism from a for-profit thing I see as being an issue, which is what it is. But someone's got to make some clothes. Someone's got to cook some food. I mean, I've been thinking about what we're looking to do here. I think we need to start. I was up at my boy's farm. He's got 80 acres. I want to bring you guys up there. He's got all this corn there that he's growing that he says just goes purely to feed the cows. And he's saying, what are they doing with the cows? And I said, well, I guess they're milking the cows, right? And eating the meat off the cows, right? So he's part of this process. But I looked at this land and thought that each one of us should have a little parcel. He had 80 acres. Let me tell you how many people's houses could be on that. It's crazy. And looking at them, each one of them has this up there. These people are out there, and it's
But it's that same thing that when 70s, 80s, our generations or our parents' generations coming here, that's what they were supposed to do. Buy some acres, buy some properties or whatever like that, buy some communities instead of putting finance into whatever they put their finance into. So at this time, we'll be sitting high on the horse at this point. Everybody would have a 1-point-something million property that was given to them from their parent who bought the house for 150,000 or something like that, maybe less than that. You know what I mean? Same way that the Sikhs and them did in Brampton, same way that the Asians did in Markham, same way that freaking the Jews did at Bathurst, same way that everybody did wherever. But now that it's sort of now we're sort of behind the game now.
Something else has been wrapped up. It's us that's wrapping. That's what we don't understand. It's our activity that's created what's going on right now.
Yeah.
And we're not being aware enough that we need to be on the move with our stuff.
Yeah.
We've shifted the whole economic basis right now. The slave is awake.
Isn't the Jews and Zionists having that same issue with just commerce though?
Well, but most of that's because the commerce was us, brother. And to me, it wasn't even us in the physical; it's in the mental. As I said, what we realized this is what I was saying about the other day. Each one of us that's out there's another 4 dirty black guys using this more shit on some shit to get us some shit. That's still creating the energy because really they're entitled to that, even though they're not. Even if they're doing negative with it. Yeah. And still, it still breaks their system apart as well because their system's based on fraud, right? You can have some guy playing some shit on some condo shit because it's right? And all the days I've been sometimes in court, look, and I'll see a couple of bays. I'm like, yeah. I think I might even called you. Yeah. I don't know that dude. There are guys out here who, that's why I said there's guys right now probably on this system right now who are about this or about using this for some benefit.
Yeah. Sneak studying.
I'll say that's 100% fact because one of my bros, I created him, but one of my bros when he came out the bin, before he went to the bin, I was telling him about this more information. You know what I mean? But he didn't really get it at first. He was kind of like, like it was just more like an activity. Like, oh, so what are you supposed to do with this? Like after I see it, like what happens? You know what I mean? And then he said when he came out the bin, that's when he told me about, like Omar said, saying like, yo, he met a whole bunch of Moors in there. He's like, yo, I know Moors in there. What do you mean? Like, you guys still get arrested. And I had to tell him like, nah, like dirty people. There's people that use it for this, that, and the third. And that's why I was gonna say consumerism earlier, because it's more or less consumerism as a lifestyle, opposed to like using it as a tool.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Because a lot of our people, like real quick, like a lot of our people like will use that in the sense like they forget that the whole the having a car, you know what I mean, having a license, all that stuff. They don't realize that this is their financial system. So you know what I mean? So like this is their way of life. So you trying to disrupt that, it's like of course they're gonna come at you.
Yeah.
Right? You know what I mean? Like so
with that being said, because a lot of them are giving up their intellectual property to acquire whatever wealth they want from these people too. So once that's gone, it's like, oh well, how do I even get my masters back? Because some people are just trying to choose to find a better life for their family or whatever the situation might be, right? And then it's like when they realize they're trying to get out now or they're trying to move away from the system now, they're stuck in it now because they're like, well, your natural person, your natural self is what you've been selling away. It's your gift.
So let's interrupt again. I think you made a beautiful mention that what messes most of it is we end up having family, which ties us through the child to the system. Just at the age when you get to the age of knowing what exactly is going on, you got some child locked up in some nonsense. And if you haven't picked your partner correctly, then you're in some other half-assed nonsense. So to me, yeah, but as I said, where I like to focus on, I like to get us up to speed and then say, what do we do next? What is next? Because these things weren't done overnight, but they weren't done in no 2,000-year thing. This is something just around the corner. And our prophet was just here yesterday, straightening us out. You know what I mean? So, and this isn't over because we haven't forgotten him. And as I said, I was thinking about last year was the year of digging ditches, and to me, this year is the year of actually getting some shit done. We'll see what this UN comes back with, and then I don't know. But as I said, I think part of the issue is that we're kind of still living comfortable. They're turning up the heat now. Right, the groceries are no longer $200 now. Groceries $300.
Right, four.
Gas is no longer $30. It's $50 now.
Yeah.
Right. And they got some equity and diversity plan going on to straighten some shit out, right?
Mm-hmm.
A lot of stores are closing down all around us.
it's like when did the old Canaanland temple start? What, 1919?
13.
1913.
Yeah.
1919. Even right now, this is like 2020s.
Yeah, right there.
These were the times where like 1920s is when prophet was like so.
Yeah.
Yeah, 100%, yes. So
Yeah, we're living in that time.
we're living in that time.
Right
The
now.
prophet did say he's going to repeat himself. And when the prophet went through a lot, I feel like, even like I feel like Moors here, we kind of get it. We have the standard, but I feel like there are some Moors that they kind of look past the fact that prophet went through a lot. Like he did a lot of footwork, and it's like we have to do the same footwork.
Yeah.
But he did like the majority of the footwork in a sense, like all we have to do is proclaim and declare, and everything's already established.
Everything's
But
there.
it's like
Right?
our people, it's like again the consumerism as a lifestyle. You look at something like we want something to just take, something to just benefit. You know what I mean? Something to just like, well, like yeah, I hear that nationality, but how am I gonna get some Nikes? You know what I mean? Like I hear that, I hear the nationality, but how am I gonna get a Beamer?
But
Like
but
that's how they look at it.
but even on that level, with what you're saying, they're even going to go out and, with regard to the consumerism, they're even going to go out and buy the nationality, thinking that
Facts.
it's something that's in that realm, that you can put down some finance and somebody's going to give you a paper or a card or a class or whatever that's going to get you out of something that, if you were studying, you probably wouldn't have gotten to that stuff in the first place.
100%.
Whatever you got into.
But I think we all. Sorry, were you going to say something?
I was just gonna say, do you think that consumerism helped contain war?
Continue.
I think consumerism is war.
Is war,
War is
yeah.
consumerism.
Where's confusion? Yeah.
But when I was studying the Mughal Empire yesterday, and I was like, well, if you look at like even just a lot of the cultures by the time it got over there in India and everything like that, and Pakistan, those places, a lot of the culture that seems like it was ours, they started to develop over there. But then when they started introducing from like trade, outside of trade and everything like that, it seems like war started to just die down a little bit after that time, because of anybody that had some kind of knowledge or some type of influence, it seems like everybody was just conquering, taking more land, building up temples, building up mosques and all these things like that. And then by the time, you know what I mean, it seems like they came now and started introducing, I don't know, a little bit of their trades or whatever it was. It just seems like some of it started to contain a lot of the war, right? Because now if you look on our land now, it's like they have a structure that's outside of what we're doing because we're still warring with each other. We can't even can't figure out what we are.
But is that more of like a barter system, like a trade system, or like real consumerism like we have today, as of like there's not a lot of shops where we're at where you don't see a lot of people that, you know, let's say per se, you know, sell crack. They make $500,000 a year. They're not going to that store to, you know, like do the make it rain in there. They're not doing that. They're going to the Louis store to make it rain. You know what I mean? So
Like you're giving up your dollar to somebody else. You're saying.
exactly,
Yeah.
we're not making it circulate in our community.
Yeah.
Well, the most we make it circulate is like at a chicken spot, and that really look at that, like look at that. Like,
Or
Even
a barber or
places.
something, hairdresser or something.
or a hairdresser.
Even the land that family gave away, like they got it back, they fought for it back, got it, and then they just sold it back. And it's like your grandparents laid that, you know what I mean? They got that land for you, and then they came and took it from you now. And then you went and said, okay, we'll sell it back to you now for 20 million or whatever, like probably half of what it's even worth, whatever, because now maybe in their mind they're like, well, we don't even have an economic system that's gonna help establish that kind of equity on this land or whatever. So maybe we'll just take it for ourselves and then just do whatever with it. Right now we can just go wherever and do whatever, right?
Consumerism as a lifestyle. That right there, because if you had a national mindset, I have land. Instantly, I have land.
Yeah. It's like, I think it was like, what, 1,000 acres or something like that?
Consumers, my bad, yeah.
You know, or I was just, you mentioned 1913, as you mentioned, I'm doing the math in my head, and if I'm correct, that every 7 years you changed it up until the point of transition.
13,
Right? And the 20.
maybe probably a little more than 7. Yeah, a little more than 7.
Yeah.
Because 13 Canaanite temple, 16 divine movement. So 16 divine movement. 25, 26, 28. Yeah. A little more than that. But yeah, because Holy Temple of Science and then and More Science Temple was the final thing in 28.
Right, yeah.
Yeah.
Then you transition.
And then right about a year after that he transitioned. Yeah.
Just thinking of the numbers, like it's all like the way it's all planned out, you know? In sequence, like it's like you knew exactly what we was doing, you know, kept changing up, shifting gears, you know?
Yeah, I think a lot of that was just what you're saying, that, you know, him realizing certain things are about to take place, put things in place so that Moors could be protected, so that Moors could, you know what I mean, be able to have certain rights while other people didn't have any, you know, telling us, giving us the flag back. When at a time when nobody had a flag back then, in the 20s, there was nobody with a flag saying this is our flag. You know what I mean? With
That's
turbans,
like
fezzes.
Castle type of
Yeah,
thing, eh?
yeah.
When you get the flag, you know,
Yeah.
like getting the flag, because you know when you post the flag.
Yeah,
you
yeah.
get the flag. How do you get the flag back without the
Yeah.
opponent, you know, like killing the guy that wants the flag back?
Yeah.
That's why it's called capture the flag.
Yeah, capture the flag.
King of the
So
hill.
you caught the flag and he's like, you got it now.
Yeah.
King of the hill.
Mhm.
Even hill. King of the mountain.
Right? So, honest to him for that.
Yeah.
Guys are
But all this being said, it really does have to do with just the honorable people being more active, because even, you know, when my bro went in and out, more and more he starts to realize, like, you know, like I say, I'm the only active one, you know, but like
Yeah.
me being around them, he was just like, oh, I get what you're saying.
Yeah.
This is a colonization thing. You can't, it's not just oh, I can just put something on the table and then I'm free now. It's like, you're already free, but this is colonization.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And it's that part I feel like a lot of people don't get. It's just like, oh, but where else that? And this, that, and the third, it's just like, you're not getting
Literally
colonization, like, you know what I mean? Like, you're not getting it.
Yeah.
literally occupied by our enemies. Like,
And then you have RB Bay that put out the how to live within contracts.
Mm-hmm.
So, we're given many keys aside, like Nomadri Ali brought the basic keys, and you got honorable master teachers. Because everything's contract, right? So now it's on us,
don't do it basically.
Yeah.
And then the prophet told us, don't get rid of it, leave, the strong as it is. That's whole business. That's another thing I was thinking too. A lot of Moors want to switch over and get right to travel cards and travel, and a lot of them have licenses and stuff. It's just live within the contract. You know how to live within the contract.
Especially when it's in quote unquote good standing.
Right.
You know what I mean? It's in good standing, so it would be in the best interest to live within contracts so that you could continue doing whatever it is that you're doing, and then at the same time on the back end you're studying this info, you're doing the research, you're getting the other side caught up to where it is that you are.
Right.
What you saying? No,
I was just saying that we have to, we're stuck in that thing that the pressure that's being applied on us all the time is to stay within the lines, which to a certain degree isn't wrong, probably, right? So we can look back to the point when we probably, if we were honorable enough, we didn't need to have lines, because those lines would be naturally there.
Yeah.
But ultimately, we're in this state of, most of the time, 90% of the time, we're coming to this because we're in some way facing the aspects of colonization, and somehow someone has given us some little lifeline saying, okay, this is the real reason. Not the fact that you're black, not the fact that whatever, it's really because of this. So now you're here, but you still got to make your finance out there, right? So we know that the ones that, and that's why I've said I've come to evolve, like you say, to try to live within contract, but we still have to keep knocking down their contracts, because to me, the devil is in the contract, right? The devil is in the certificate. The devil is in the license. That's the contract that needs to be out of there. That's where our right to travel card has to be there. Problem is that when they pull you over, hopefully what you do is you have the backing of their corporate shit on a certain level to keep it going. Because if not, then they're trying to extract finance from you by taking your conveyance.
Right, that's a contract, right?
It's not really even a contract. It's a lack of a contract, right? To a certain level, the contract, you're saying this is mine. They're saying it's not. What contract is that?
But then you're saying you give them the corporate stuff.
I'm saying that's how it's evolved to, because at the end of the day,
because the hassle of
anything else, because this is, I'll quote KRS-One. He says, the last thing, and quoting here, the last place we want to be is up in those places. Those places are corrupt too. Right? All those courts are absolutely corrupt. That, if you want to talk about commerce, that's where the commerce is.
Yeah.
Right? Everything else is you hopefully doing your business, but having the stuff sucked out of you from everything, from the taxes, anything you walk and do, you're sucking that energy. But that stuff is nothing. Because they keep talking about this debt that they keep incurring every time they talk about some budget. And the debt is that they're extracting that finance from you and paying you nothing. But that stuff has to come from somewhere.
Even going back to what Jess was saying, like, we're putting pressure on them to make changes in certain establishments. Like, I drive by a couple schools around my area, and one will say Black Lives Matter, but then another one down the street will say Happy National Tamils National or something like that. So it's like, even if we go in their establishments and we're the one or two on the menu, it's like you can't really sell Moorish nationality, right? No. Like, we're in their natural state. So it's like, it's not in their interest to want to do that. That's what it seems like. So it's like, why wouldn't they keep the majority black anyways? They must, now when we go in there and we're, taking our Fridays off or whatever the situation might be, we want to, hold some of our own autonomy to ourselves. It's like, You know what I mean? That's gonna encourage more of their people now and then, or more of our people now to want to get out of that. You know what I'm saying? So I don't know. It's like,
Well, I'm agreeing with you, but all I'm saying is that we gotta stand somewhere at this point, because if not, the knowledge that we have becomes almost useless from the perspective of if we're just climbing back into the cell.
Yeah.
This is what I started off by saying to Cujo way back in the day. It's like understanding that you're in jail, but then not being able to leave. Because really, what should be able to believe? You should be able to go right now to your spot where you got your house, you got whatever it is that you do to make finance, and you're not being hindered or obstructed or discriminated against or all the other shit that happens. That to me is what is owed to me, to a certain perspective, to a national on their land.
I think we're gonna run into greed, a little bit of greed though. Because
Greed?
I think greed's gonna play a big
Well,
factor.
absolutely, but that's what they created. But that's where nationality hopefully comes beyond that we talk about. I was just at this place, the Columbus Center. I walk in there. This is the Italians. If anyone's been to Dufferin Lawrence, that you walk in there, these are some Italian guys that built this. Built a massive gym right there. All these different, it's crazy. It's the union. It's the brothership of the unions, but we don't have a union. Our union should be our nationality. We don't have it because we have not been given it. That's really what's missing.
We've been given it, we haven't accepted it.
No, we haven't been. Okay, let me rephrase that. We haven't been taught it because we all learn from example. And unfortunately, this wasn't bred into our families. Most of our families
Disenfranchised.
Huh?
Disenfranchised.
Well, no, it was split up. There was some issue most of the time. That was where the attack happened. I mean, it's not very hard to see where the issues are. Where I see the issues is what do we do about it now, knowing that these people are diabolical. That was the other thing I was realizing. And I thought about this before. But remember, our European counterpart is a hybrid. He's a hybrid also of some other sort of, what would you say, some other entity, right? And what I've understood is that in a lot of cases that makes their thinking to be in a way that's not in alignment with love, truth, peace, freedom, and justice. It could be greed, death, murder, whatever. This is what we're dealing with. Traumas, all that stuff. I mean, these would be things that they would say would be ingrained maybe in their makeup. I don't want to believe that, because to me the solution is, unfortunately to this, is us coming back together in love as best as possible and hopefully eradicating the cancers that are out there. There's a few set of people that are really about this, and then it's just about keeping the engine going, right? It's really about the policies, and then it's about, hey, you want to be a cop, you got to be an asshole. So then you're a cop, you know what I mean? So it's about excising the assholes as an example.
Mm-hmm.
Used to be the priest and those guys should have been on us, they were the devil, right? That kind of stuff.
Mm-hmm.
That's how I see it. We're running from the,
Going back to the original what we were saying, because isn't that how, like, even Christian, like churches and stuff like that, they started building up a lot of those around the area.
Absolutely.
Like the Pope, I don't know how much the influence of the Pope was, that's one kind of way, the culpable and everything like that, but
it was cult and culture and creed. That's what they were building into. Christianity. You show up there, you got this mandate, you give your 10%, everyone's putting their 10% in just like that. Some of them putting 20% in.
yeah.
That's it. It's that simple.
I remember reading even when Jamaica got their independence and all of them, the British left the occupancy of the land, the one thing that they left on the land was the church.
Mm-hmm.
And that was something that it's like, once you have that, it's a wrap.
Well, remember the church, the original meaning of church was gathering. Right? So everyone got together on Sunday, got their message, and went out.
Yeah.
That's what this place is supposed to be. Right? It's crazy. I don't know what to say, but you know what? As I said, if we're not, well, I would say this. I seem to be aware that some things seem to be changing. I've been in this now, over a decade, and it's only in this last, and I've been on this planet a hell of a lot longer than that. It's only in this last 3 years that I've seen that they blocked this whole world down on some shit. On some dirty socks or something. You know, I'm just saying from a perspective, I guess they talked about the Spanish flu and all these, funny enough, Spanish flu again though, right? How come it's all stuff that seems to be weirdly connected with us?
Always. Oh yeah, it's something.
I was gonna add in, it's like, when you even saying about, independence of Jamaica, it's just, it's like, just trying to let our people know, like, what the cultures and the language, you know what I mean? Like, it took, like, years for me, like, to even give my mom that concept, like, I didn't even know that. Like, look at that word, Jamaica, God is independence. It's not like, for one, Jamaica is not even like what we would call ourselves, you know what I mean? Like, or not what we call the land. So, the concept in itself, you know what I mean? Knowing that we are it. You know what I mean? Like, it's that a lot of our people are still looking and still trying to get approval. You know what I mean? And it's like, we were talking about putting European on notice. Putting European on notice. You know what I mean? Our people are looking for, no, let's get permission. Where's our permission slip from them so we don't get bothered?
Yeah.
I tell jokes to my mom, like, you sold our birthrights into assimilation. She just, she'll just be kind of like surprised, like, I break it down for her, like, because, and if you know our culture, it's like, a lot of the men weren't really there. Whatever happened, if they got murdered or killed or ran off, whatever, it's like, the ones that were raised by their mother now, alone with the mother, it's like, that was, I guess, like, my parents' generation, because that's like the 60s, whatever now, and everybody's kind of just doing their own thing. The children are doing their own thing now, right? But I know from my own family, like, there wasn't a lot of grandparents. It was a matriarch. It was like my mom had 9 sisters, 3 brothers, and, like, you know what I mean? Like, it just grew from that. And my dad, where he didn't grow up with his dad. You know, he grew up with his mom. His mom went to England. You know, he left him on the land, took her daughter, went to England, and then, and then he has this mentality that now, like, you know what I mean? He doesn't really need to teach us anything, really. You know what I mean? He just let us do our own thing. So I don't know. I just feel like with our culture, it's.
I hear about. Sorry.
I was just gonna say, with our culture, it's like, especially with people on the island, there's just a reluctancy there. It's just that, like, I don't know if it's a rebellion or whatever situation, like, you know what I mean? But just the pride are in the wrong things. All the pride that they have is like in the fictition of what is not even real anymore. It's like, you know what I mean? Like, what? Yeah, I don't know.
I'll say this to you, this came to my mind when we were talking about the whole angle that they were talking about slavery. Maybe this really is like the salmon swimming back home. You took a bunch of people from where they lived, which was here, and you put them somewhere else. Well, what did they do? They swam back upstream. So what you're seeing something being done on a genetic level. These people were going home.
Yes.
And then this was the migration back to what they tried to destroy. And this is what they're watching happen now. As generationally, we're coming back to our spot.
100%.
That's what it is.
100%. Yeah.
But the other thing that's what I realized is that it's all in the language again, because they call us West Indians. We look around at each other, we say we're West Indians. That's not us. We're not getting energy from that.
Yeah.
We say we're black, that's definitely not it. So we're definitely just, we'll have our Trinity thing, but that'll come together on some little thing in Dundas Square, where we come together for a day and have our little flag.
Trinidad Day, Jamaica Day, or whatever.
Or we have our caravana,
Yeah.
the biggest party that anyone ever has, and yet we don't do anything off of that.
Yeah.
Or we have the Jamaican Canadian Center. You go up there and it's this place. It's kind of like this. This place should be City Hall. It's not this.
Yeah.
So, but it's here. We're here. It's on, and this is what I'm trying to tell everyone. That this thing is on. We need to start upping our game on this, because it's right there. They're done. The rest of these people, they start to invite these people in. They're bringing all these people in because there's no work being done. That's why they're bringing the Hindustani and the Chinese people racing around on their bikes, delivering food and running everything. Meanwhile, you got a couple of guys up in office saying that they're running shit.
Yeah.
Meanwhile, the true landlords are sitting around allowing them to say that.
Yeah.
When you mentioned the carnivals, and I was just thinking, because the lunar cycle.
Absolutely. We're missing the fact that they're doing that. That's what I was saying to Kudo. They're using all of the stuff, the cosmos, they're using as their energy, while we totally ignore it and deny it.
That's what I was saying, to get back on track with our cycle, because we're following their cycle.
No, their cycle is our cycle. That's what
Right,
we're
no,
missing.
what I'm saying is in the sense of how things were, anciently ran, like, I was talking about, I was just thinking, how you mentioned, we have carnival, we don't do anything with that, but I was thinking the concept, our people go to the carnival and we party, a lot of us are drunk, and, we carry on, and, we're just dancing, and carrying on, we don't know ourselves, and
But a lot of
I'm
that,
thinking about the other cultures and festivities back in ancient times, and even this festivals that the Hindus have for themselves, and it's all peace. Our festivals, you hear about gunshots going off, the vibrations just
Takes the
Ah,
dance,
yeah.
food and.
But I was also going to say, even when GS set up Jamaica Day and all that stuff, I remember when I was a youngin, going to Jamaica Day, I didn't see nothing about no industry or anything like that. All I seen was people performing. I just see, if anything, I seen a whole bunch of people getting drunk, carrying on, a whole bunch of stuff. If I see some Europeans, they're doing the same thing as us. Anybody else, they're doing the same thing as us. It was just a party. You know what I mean? Like it was nothing.
vibration.
Looking back on it, it was really nothing to really be proud of. And even look at the carnival. I said, look up Carabana and the word Bana. Like, I already know Carib is kind of related to flesh eater. And then you have Carabana. Bana is cause strife or something like that. But you know what I mean? The words. Like,
The energy behind it.
the energy behind everything, where it's just like, like the festival, like,
That's why it's easy. That's why it's easy
That's
with
why
our
it's easy.
people, because our people don't read. People don't understand language and words, and even what you're saying with the Caravana thing and the flesh eater, and then now they got not now, but they have the drink that's Carib, and then they're drinking that, which is them drinking themselves.
Exactly.
You know what I mean? The same thing, just in different forms.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean?
They have a drink called Carib?
Yeah.
Yeah, bro. That tastes good.
That's the point. Yeah, that's the point. Yeah. That's the point. And then them not recognizing that that's them.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean? The Caribs are the indigenous people, not some Trinidadians or some Arawaks are not some Jamaicans or whatever like that. Like, they're the indigenous people. There's a certain standard that these people should be living by, being the indigenous. Like when I went to Tobago in 2017, and everybody wants grapes and apples and all these foreign fruits, and mangoes are spoiling on the tree, bro. Spoiling on the tree.
that boy down
You have to clean it up. To clean it up. Yeah, yo. You know what I mean? This lady was bringing a bucket daily of mangoes. Daily. Like, daily a bucket. Just because, like, people don't even hop the fence and steal mangoes anymore. Everybody wants their foreign stuff.
Watermelon.
They want everything that they can't get there.
It's crazy.
Even to end off on this, you guys even hear about there was like some well in Jamaica where they found like a gold well or something like that. Some type of gold mine. Like,
Yeah.
gold mine.
Yeah, gold mine, yeah.
You know what I mean? I'm just like, produce gold. Like,
Yeah.
like to produce gold, it's just like, what's going on in the world?
What's going on? Yeah.
Canada is leading in that. So, like, a corporation from Canada is like the one extracting the gold from that.
Of course.
This is madness.
And we should too. I mean, I've been thinking about this whole Canada thing too, and how it seems to exist here in America. It seems to be sort of they retroactively put Canada in as if Canada has something to do with North America.
Right.
Canada was here yesterday. It ain't got
Yeah.
nothing. And this Mexico, Canada, whatever trilateral agreement and blah blah blah. I just think to myself, this is crazy. This can't be covered in some treaty.
Yeah.
This is now what they've done now they're acknowledging that somehow we had a deal, right? This is what this whole land thing is now. I don't know if you've been anywhere where they're acknowledging you're on the land of the Mississauga.
Yeah.
And blah blah blah, where it's still gonna be business as usual, right?
Mhm. Yeah.
It's crazy.
Speaking about that too, talk about this Bill C-15, the act respecting the UN declarations on the rights of indigenous people, and this was from December 3rd, 2020. December 3rd, 2020. Summary. This enactment provides that the Government of Canada must take all measures necessary to ensure that the laws of Canada are consistent with the United Nations Declaration on the Rights of Indigenous People, and must prepare and implement an action plan to achieve the objectives of the Declaration. Short title. This act may be cited as the United Nations Declaration on the Rights of Indigenous Peoples Act. Interpretation, definitions. The following definitions apply to this act. Declaration means the United Nations Declaration on the Rights of Indigenous Peoples that was adopted by the General Assembly of the United Nations as General Assembly Resolution 61/295 on September 13th, 2017, and that is set out in the schedule. Indigenous peoples has the meaning assigned by the definition Aboriginal Peoples of Canada in subsection 35, section 2 of the Constitution Act 1982. Minister for the purposes of any provision of this act means the federal minister designated as the minister for the purposes of that provision under section 3. Rights of Indigenous peoples. This act to be construed as upholding the rights of Indigenous peoples recognized and affirmed by Section 35 of the Constitution Act 1982, and not as abrogating or derogating from them. Clarification. Nothing in this act is to be construed as delaying the application of the Declaration in Canadian law. Purpose of this act. The purpose of this act is to 1A, affirm the Declaration as a universal international human rights instrument with application in Canadian law, and B, provide a framework for the Government of Canada's implementation of the Declaration. Measures for the consistency of laws and achieving the objectives of the Declaration. Consistency. The Government of Canada must, in consultation and cooperation with Indigenous peoples, take all measures necessary to ensure that the laws of Canada are consistent with the Declaration. Action Plan. 6.1. The Minister must, in consultation and cooperation with Indigenous peoples and with other federal ministers, prepare and implement an action plan to achieve the objectives of the Declaration. Content. The action plan must include measures to address injustices, combat prejudice, and eliminate all forms of violence and discrimination, including systematic discrimination against Indigenous peoples and Indigenous elders, youth, children, women, men, persons with disabilities, and gender diverse persons and two-spirit persons, and promote mutual respect and understanding, as well as good relations, including through human rights education, and B, measures relating to monitoring, oversight, recourse, or remedy, or other accountability measures with respect to the implementation of the Declaration. Other elements. The action plan must also include measures related to monitoring and implementation of the plan and reviewing reviewing and amending the plan. Time limit. The preparation of the action plan must be completed as soon as practicable, but no later than 3 years after the day on which the section comes into force. Tabling in Parliament. The minister must cause the action plan to be tabled in each House of Parliament as soon as practicable after it has been prepared. Action plan made to public. After the action plan is tabled, the minister must make it public. Report to Parliament. Annual report. Within 90 days after the end of each fiscal year, the minister must, in consultation with and cooperation with Indigenous peoples, prepare a report for the previous fiscal year on the measures taken under Section 5 and preparation and implementation of the action plan referred to in Section 6. Report made to public. After the report is tabled, the minister must make it public. The schedule. UN Declarations on the Rights of Indigenous Peoples, resolution adopted by the General Assembly. United Nations Declaration on the Rights of Indigenous Peoples, the General Assembly, taking note of the recommendation of the Human Rights Council contained in its resolution of 2006, by which the Council adopted the text of the United Nations Declaration on the Rights of Indigenous Peoples, recalling its resolution in December 2006, by which it decided to defer consideration of an action on the declaration to allow time for further consultation thereon, and also decided to conclude its consideration before the end of the 61st session of the General Assembly. And then it goes into
So it was presented to them in 2006 for them to consider it, bring it in force.
the UN declarations was presented 2006.
Right.
And then they didn't do anything till 2012 under Harper.
Right.
And then that was the same time or 2010. And then that was the same time that Barack Obama signed on to the indigenous declarations. So all they should be doing is enforcing the UN declarations on all the different bodies of quote unquote government or whatever that's here, instead of creating some act and then having all these different things in there. So, the indigenous people are, what the Constitution says. The Constitution acts as indigenous people are, not what indigenous people are.
So right away, we're
generally
now
right?
married in the First Nations, Inuit,
And Métis
as who they're going to go to, which has been what we've been having an issue with them acknowledging the fact that we're non-status indigenous, because they need to have status to then have control. So this is now you realize that this thing is real and it's happening. Right? So 2016, finally, as we wake up and start using that to our advantage, all of a sudden they got problems now.
Yeah.
To follow that means that, because basically that's the law that runs them.
Yeah.
Unless they create an act that then mimics the law.
and literally mimics.
Because really it's just that subsection, because this is what we're going to read through the whole rest of it. But they haven't changed anything in the body of it. All they've done is put a disclaimer on the top of it to say all of that is now filtered through the Canada corpse.
Yeah.
Well, it's been 3 years, because they said they had 3 years from when it was.
Well, that's 2020. That would be December 2020, which would mean that they still got now another 9 months to make some shit happen. And then if you look into the Truth and Reconciliation Commission, which had 94 calls to action, that was done 7 or 8 years ago. 7 or 8 years ago, when I was in 94, they did 6 up until just a year ago, when then certain people called attention to it, and then they implemented another 6. And these were things like making sure that they had the Métis language,
saying
putting another minister out there to look after shit, all the fluff stuff, making sure that, you can get education in Métis language, nonsense stuff, right? So this is on.
Yeah.
And what Canada is, and that's what I've always said, is that Canada, we are the brains we are the North, we are the brains of this place, and they put another lock on us because we're not even Americans. We're making us Canadians, which is a corpse, and leg us to, let's say, England.
Mm-hmm.
We're really English property. All done through attorney generals and all this stuff, so it's all wartime stuff, right? And then trying to claim that you're indigenous, well, we're not recognizing that you're indigenous.
Yeah. While saying that they got all this indigenous stuff going on and acknowledge and recognition, and we got to help the indigenous, and you got to do this for the indigenous. As soon as you start standing up that you're indigenous, they got something.
Oh, but then also going to see the indigenous now, they're all Europeans.
Yeah.
If you really go there and check it out, we went out to the powwow, and they're all Europeans.
Yeah.
So if you don't see how diabolical this is.
They've become the indigenous people now.
Right. So and what's happening now? Now they're going to be treating with each other, and this is it. But this is our time now to make sure. This is why I say we'll see what this UN thing. We can report back over the next couple of weeks. But really, to me, it's got to be about activity. I mean, someone else I think was saying at Noble Jubilee Day about politicking, and I was, I am definitely still opposed to it.
I think the politicking really has to be done, like you're saying, amongst ourselves.
Well, I feel like this is the politicking.
Like it has to be done with ourselves. Yeah. It has to be done amongst ourselves.
I feel like they'll bring us in the fold once they start mixing back in with us now.
Well, fair enough to a certain degree, but I don't even think that's their choice. Really, we have to have like Kudo's saying, to a certain degree, a numbers-based following that says if we got any event going on, we got 50 to 100 people that are gonna show up, and we need to talk to some people, and people gotta recognize some stuff.
Like whatever we're saying. If we're saying
We're gonna go down to City Hall, and we're gonna go try and talk to the mayor.
or not even that
As an
major.
example.
Not even that major. Something little as we're gonna do a
Street clean?
community cleanup. There should be 100 mores there. If we say we're gonna go feed the hungry, there should be 100 mores there. If we say we're gonna go do some outreach, we're gonna do whatever it is. You know what I mean? There should be a body of individuals there to, just like if the Hindus say we're gonna whatever, and 50,000 of them show up
I know, it's crazy.
with no questions asked, no religion talked about, no whatever. We're here because of this flag right here. You know what I mean? Right? And that's part of the issue with what we're talking about with our people and the recognition aspect. Because everybody who's in, some type of authoritative position or whatever like that, when it comes to the Moors, well, how come it's only 10 of you? Or, well, where's everybody else? Or what's wrong with you? What's wrong with the rest of your people? Or whatever the case is, which again is implying that they know that where we're at is where it's at. And our people need to be where we're at. But we can't expect them to go tell them, because them telling them means that it's the end of them as well. You know what I mean?
That's like them literally committing suicide.
Yeah.
Literally doing it, trying to put us on.
Yeah, but I think but where I think the issue is that we've gotten to a point now, I think, where this thing is imploding.
Yeah.
Well, it's been, but I'm just saying it's become exponentialized because at this point, us being led around like a dog is not happening anymore. So now this creates an issue, and now they've got the enemy at their gate, the Hindustanis and the Chinese.
Yeah.
They got a real problem right now, because if they wake us up to the fact that we've been enslaved to protect them, some of their heads got to roll. So they're just going down slowly, and I call this a fire sale to a certain degree. The handoff's already maybe happened.
This reminds me of when Morocco was playing, and everybody, all the other nations were cheering on Morocco, and they're like, I met an Arab woman, and she was just saying, she's like, I'm not Moroccan, but she's like, it's because it's in that region or that area that we represent. We're representing them. It just made me think, like, it's the same thing with us being in that state we're in right now, and wondering where everybody else is. And they're looking at us saying, "Yo, we're right behind you guys, waiting for you guys to wake up."
Yeah.
Well, but I also think there's a side of them, though, that the Europeans hedge their bets. That's why I was saying to people, these people that come over now, they're giving them $500,000.
Yeah, giving them whatever they want.
So what they've done now is they've created the same commerce thing he's talking about, but a lien on these people, right? So that's why you see them. They're in a BMW, they got a nice house, and everyone's wearing Goose Canada, Goose down, and whatever, right? That's because they're giving them while we're here trying to make it through with what we got.
Yeah.
It's crazy, absolutely nuts. So that's why they're torn.
But then that goes also
They're not even
too.
torn. No, watch this. They're not even torn. They sold out.
Yeah. That also goes to the contracting thing too that we're talking about. That the foreigners that are coming here are contracting here, one, to legitimize the people who are calling themselves the authority, the government or whatever, because they're going to them. So it looks as if they're the ones that are in charge, when they're not, right? If something goes down, those people could pack up their stuff, go back to wherever they came from, without any issue. Whereas with us, we have nowhere to go. And then because we're already here, we start talking up about certain things, then it undermines their contract that they have with the Manchurians who came over here playing the indigenous people. Because now they're gonna have to get called out for not being whoever they are, while they've sort of been moved to the reserve Nobody doesn't really consider them really like that. You know, they get violated more than anybody else too, and you know, but nothing's happening to fix their issue.
Because you notice this, right?
You know?
Still notice this is that time. You see anything going on with these indigenous people?
Yeah.
Put on some orange shirt on a day and some shit like that.
Yeah.
You see anything else? You see any of these indigenous people anywhere doing anything? Bro, it's messed up. And then when you see them, you're mistaking them for European.
Yeah.
100%.
Then they get a couple like the governor general now, isn't she Katie, whatever her name is,
Right, yeah.
Simone, whatever.
Yeah.
Some crazy stuff.
Seeing more like Iranian, Ukrainian protesting on the land now.
Well, that to me, there's some stuff going on. You know what I start to realize? I think this is all backwards. That's what I mean. I think that Russia really is the last of the more strongholds to a certain degree. I think that's what's going on. This Ukraine is in that level. These bunch of maybe these sellouts on the side, though. As I said, I could also be convinced that this is just their way of sending some of their boys out. We need some more Europeans here, right? Like they definitely do. They need some hard work because I now am working with a bunch of Europeans that came over here in the last little exodus. And these guys, I was saying this to Kudu today, like I'm in this union, and they're giving guys 50-year pins. Are you hearing what I'm saying?
Yeah.
They've been at work in film for 50 years, making $200,000 a year. 50-year pins. And there's a list. Like there's 20 people.
Yeah.
And one guy stood up. He's like, yeah, I've been here since 50, child labor laws. He started off with like 18 or whatever. But he's 68 now, got 3 houses and a 50-year pin.
Yeah.
When was the last time anyone worked 30 years anywhere?
Yeah.
Let alone 50.
50.
Then 40, 30. Names. I'm telling you. I was like, what? I said, I'm sticking here. Because obviously people, and then they just said, oh no, they had the lady, 72. She was the oldest at 55 years.
Yeah.
I thought to myself, wow, this is how it is.
Yeah.
Like you'll get an employment and you'll be there for the rest of your life.
Yeah.
And they'll look after you. So my other theory is that that's just an illusion. That's an illusion to bring people over here. Why are we what we're going to do is we're going to bomb some shit and have you guys all come over to where we need some help. Because right now the Chinese and the Manchurians are running
the show.
The Chinese and the Hindustanis are here now.
Yeah.
Like you look around, you got a few little light-skinned Arab guys kind of at the
making it look like
this.
Yeah. But when you really check it, the Hindustanis, whether we're talking Pakistani, Sikh, Indian, whatever, them and the Asian.
So I'm living in
branch.
downtown now, right? We're living in a spot. COVID happened. All the international students left. So we got this spot that should usually be $3,200 to $2,700 a month. Come to find out, the guy now wants to sell the place because they're missing the fat now. Now that everything's gone back to normal, what they were having was having all these Hong Kong and the real estate in China, having all these Hong Kong and real estate and Hong Kong and Chinese foreign students coming over here and paying $3,300 to $3,400 for a 2-bedroom place that they'd made a solarium and just he said they would never have more than 4 or 5 days when the place was empty.
That in order for them to pay their rent, they're not working. They're getting some grant or whatever like that.
Right.
Yeah. To pay their $3,500.
Well, yeah.
a month.
Well, I just to tell you this.
Right.
I was at another hospital. I see this girl there, and basically the Russians pay for their people to go and go to school in other countries.
Mm-hmm.
That's how tight their education system is.
Yeah.
That if you're in Russia and you get accepted to U of T, they're paying for it. And she was crying because this whole Ukraine-Russian thing that was creating the whole world to be against Russia might have cut down her program. But behind the scenes, this is what's going on.
Wasn't there like a basketball player? I don't know if it was Brother Zaire that posted it, or there was a basketball player that came out about saying how he couldn't speak out with certain things about China.
Oh yeah. Ennis Cantor. Yeah. Coming out talking about how they blackballed him.
From what?
Out the league. Because he was talking about concentration camps in China and all this and China violating all these rights and all these different relations that the NBA has with all these different countries that are involved in this human trafficking whatever thing, and got him out of there ASAP.
But that's what's gonna happen.
But once you talk,
Once you're working at Sony, you start talking shit about Sony, they're gonna get rid of you.
Yeah.
Right? I mean, this is why I say our our intellect seems to get lost in common sense,
Mm.
you know, at certain times. You know, you're playing for the European League.
Yeah.
You know, these people, this is what's going on. These people are a product of America, which is one of the biggest slave states out there.
But it's
Well, we're talking about China.
it's that thing though with you know because they're gonna have their policies or whatever that you know they respect the rights of the whatever and freedom of speech and you can express yourself and whatever like that and you could be too spirited and you could say you're a cat and all this stuff, but as soon as you start talking crazy, now all that stuff goes out the window that they're saying that they're supposed to be for as far as the rights of humans and whatever like that, and they railroad you, which is supposed to let you know the tyrannical nature of what you're dealing with, who you're up against.
Well, but I mean, but that should have been obvious too with the whole Kyrie Irving thing when the whole thing came out when he had that stupid video, right?
Yeah.
I mean, this stuff is real.
Yeah.
I mean, I think what I find with us too is that I think I realize that I think there's a part of us that has to disconnect from realizing how real evil all this is, because I think it would be hard for us to understand that this is really how it is.
Mhm.
It's almost like we gotta pretend like it's
Yeah,
it's
that
not what it is.
the cognitive dissonance.
Yes,
yeah,
absolutely.
yeah. Not being able to accept.
Well, the only way to do it, as I
The
said,
reality.
either that or you load up your gun and you go out,
Yeah.
right, and take some people out or something. You
Yeah.
know, and that's not the answer.
Do you guys know who Jordan Peterson is?
Yeah.
He's a clinical psychologist from U of T, but he's been on like Joe Rogan podcasts and stuff like that. He's been speaking on a lot against like free speech and whatnot, just basic rights, right? And I guess he must have retweeted something the Conservative Party peer Paul Revere or whatever said about Justin Trudeau, and like now the College of Psychology now they want to reprimand him. And he has to do some type of training, media type of training now, and like, so like he can't speak out against certain things. And he's basically calling them out because they're basically trying to put his title on the line now, right?
Yeah.
And they're taking him down now, like, their own people.
Yeah.
But even speaking on that level, I remember like a long time ago when I first got into this, Allah's the greatest planner. My mobile at the time, she was in university for ECE. And part of it, they had to study, native cultures and indigenous cultures. But she had to come back and tell me something that she found was weird, that they said they couldn't bring just any indigenous person and just talk about their experience. They had to get like a specific type of person to talk about. It had to be like quote unquote government approved. And if it wasn't government approved, the whole program was shut down. So that's those type of things make sense.
It's like what's even once you get to that position now, and even they still have control over taking that away. Like, you know, but Tammy's like, it's just a title. I can still practice and whatever, like do my thing on the side, but they won't be able to call themselves that from like having that experience and whatnot.
But that right there, it kind of shows that it's all on the people, because they just said that they're saying that quote unquote Canada is going to take away his privileges or whatever, right? But if the people that listen to him stop listening to him, it's kind of like them flexing muscle, where it's just like, yo, we're showing how much control we have over these people. Like, who are you guys really listening to? Are you guys listening to the words, or are you guys listening to the certification?
Like Kanye now, and like it's the same thing that happened to everybody because they're all being publicly ridiculed and saying all these things. Like, people are trying to say, "Oh, Kanye loves Nazis," but it's like, aren't you the same people that were recruiting Nazis from World War II or whatever over here to build spacecrafts and whatever, use them for science and everything like that? It's like, they're just playing that game with us.
The hypocrisy is real.
Yeah.
The hypocrisy is real.
You see, where I think a lot of it too is Noam Chomsky said, I think, distraction, deception, and fear are the tools that they use. And they're definitely there, focusing on everything else but ourselves, right? And what we need to do. And I think that's the component that when you don't have roots, going on to community, family roots, community roots, family, community roots, and then national roots, then you end up being something that can be pushed around, right? Because you have no standards, you have nothing that causes you to adhere to a certain sort of level well, as I said, standard again. And then therefore, then we're very, they say nature abhors a vacuum. And so then whatever they put on you, you can accept. Right?
Yeah.
Is that the price we're paying for freedom though to commit? Because we can't commit to anything. We don't want to commit to anything anymore. It seems like, right? Because everybody has the freedom now and the flexibility to vote and acquire currency now and
It's kind of a double standard, just like when they say freedom of speech, but then the people who are talking negative, they want to say they can't say that or whatever. When they got freedom of speech to say whatever they got to say. You know what I mean? And this double standard sort of goes through all the different jurisdictions that, well, you could say stuff, but you can't say stuff. People could get violated, but they shouldn't get violated. You know what I mean? There's this catch-22 thing with that sort of impedes the progress of the whole. You know what I mean? Because like you're saying, it's supposed to be one way or the other. You know what I'm saying? Like if you're saying freedom of speech, then the idea of that speech being derogatory or villainous or whatever shouldn't even be in the conversation. You know what I mean? If it's freedom of speech, it should be freedom of right speech. If you have that freedom, it shouldn't be freedom of negativity, because you know that's going to pull society down. You know that's going to cause conflict in society, right?
Reminds me of the whole thing with that Oakville teacher. You guys heard about that?
Yeah.
With the oversized.
Prosthetic.
That right there, it just reminds me of how, the children, they have this vote, they have this school board meeting where they we can't do nothing about this. She has, he has a right to be how they want to be, and and it's like you said, you should have rights, but you shouldn't be, because it's like deception. It's a deception thing, right? Like,
what they're doing is muddying the water, right?
Like it's deception, because that teacher knows psychologically, they know what they're doing by doing that, and then they know that they have certain rights, because now they're so with this whole LGBT thing that that teacher individual knows, oh well, they're gonna run with what I'm doing because this is the new time what they're pushing, right? So, right, and if anybody goes against it, it's all on them, right? And that's what's going on.
So wouldn't that be what they're afraid of like the Asians and Hindustani coming in, because they won't really tolerate that kind of those kind of.
But then that's the thing with the jurisdiction, that they might not tolerate where they're at, but here you're gonna. You don't have an option here.
Is a black hole to suck indecision in that they've been then through propaganda pushing out there. So at the end of the day, two spirits means, hey, you can be European and Asiatic. This is what all that was all about. The whole DNA stuff was all to tie themselves back into the human family, so that they can say that they've got traces of indigenous in them, which they all would, because they all come from us. But they're not acknowledging the indigenous.
Not acknowledging the indigenous,
Crazy shit. These guys think that they're pulling a fast one, and then that's where the two-spirited thing comes into this.
And then going right back into the thing with the Bill C-51 and the indigenous declarations. Why don't you just ride with the indigenous declarations? Why you got to create a whole new thing and then have everybody go to this new thing over here when the foundation's not even getting acknowledged?
This is a colony of England that they've created there in foreign land, like killing and raping and killing people that you don't hear about. Still, the students, remember all the children that they're finding in residential schools, all that stuff. Saying where everyone's wherever, they can't, because these people are about that. That's what this colony is about.
Yeah.
So they got a problem now, right? People are aware this internet has messed them up as much as to keep a hold of us, but it
also opened up the window.
Because I say that to the random a lot, where it's like, the prophet was really right when he said he's gonna make the Europeans stop thinking, because looking at what's going on right now, they have put themselves in a position where they have to adjust their own standards.
Absolutely.
They have to now. You know what I mean? Like they can't stand. They can't go back to, oh, we have to have a family values and be this Canadian thing, and you know,
Yeah.
you can't because you done messed it up.
Yeah, found too much bodies.
So isn't their standard
Too much bodies.
Isn't their standard not to distract us? Because look, they got people turning these kids in school to cats now. Kids are identifying as cats. They got litters in the schools and stuff like
Oh,
that.
see, that's another level.
You know what I'm saying? So it's like you're distracting all of them now, and then they're realizing that now they gotta keep up with their standards.
You know what?
Now they'll know they'll still be the gatekeepers almost.
But then even from the
Who will be the gatekeeper?
Well, the occupiers.
Yeah.
You know, the government.
I see. Okay, so, what?
yeah, no, I was just gonna say with going back to the thing with the language, that if we have this thing of them being accepted as, they could be a cat, they could be a dog, they could be a sheep, they could be a whatever, could the origin of that be in this thing of us saying that they're kids, which are baby
We're
goats?
talking about animal husbandry, which
Yeah,
is what
yeah.
they're pulling back
You
around.
know what I mean?
But you know what? I was going to counter this. You see, what has happened is, so I've been talking to people about before. This is about democracy in the republic. This is really about democracy as the gang that's here. So if you want to come over, that's why they got that Hindustani guy right now who's the head of the NDP.
Yeah.
Because they bought into democracy.
Yeah.
See what I mean? So now it's about human trafficking. So we bring our people in. They've taken over Brampton. He's now the representative of that. You notice they brought in some Chinese guy and some mayor that had to make a big deal about this Chinese guy being the mayor now. Why is that a big deal?
Yeah.
Because ultimately these other nations that should have no
They
business.
want their representation. Yeah.
Mayor or counselor?
I think it was
Yeah,
a mayor of
whatever
some
it is,
city
yeah.
or whatever, was council or whatever, but it was big enough news that they're talking about First Asian, whatever. That's because this guy's bought into democracy.
Yeah.
Right? So what we're really missing is the interplay between what the republic should be, which is freeing us to self-rule, and democracy, which is demon rule and all the stuff that's been going on.
And
that's
the
why
other-
they're always using terms of this is a threat against democracy.
Yeah, and
It would
the
be
other
like saying
thing,
this is a threat against the mob. That's what they're saying.
the other thing missing too is that when those people get into that position, their constituents don't really represent them,
No.
right? Because there was even a thing with the same Jagmeet or whatever getting kicked out of Brampton or
That's
whatever
right.
because they're like,
his boys were going to take care of them.
yeah, his boys were gonna regulate
They
him.
get to run out of there.
Yeah, you have to leave there. Yeah.
Well, this is analogous to, I think, the whole Jesse Jackson thing that KRS one makes allusion to back in the Stop the Violence era, where he said that they got 600,000 votes to get Jesse Jackson into this position, and then at the end of the day, he was a fraud.
Yeah.
Right, which is exactly what I think happens to these immigrants. But what I realized, obviously, is this is obviously the land of milk and honey.
Yeah.
Why is everyone coming here?
Everybody's coming
like
here.
that.
Yeah.
Like that.
Why is here the spot? Yeah.
This is the spot that you guys just came to. I thought that was the spot.
Yeah.
That's why you know it's all a lie and an illusion. What happened was they got in here, they infiltrated, and the true landlords are just keeping in the dark.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
Even on that note, like to kind of add to it, like I remember we're in a group chat. We're talking about Ghana, and you looked up the definition of the word Ghana. I'm talking about it's the Gold Coast. And I'm thinking like, but as far as like Akibalan over there, where Ghana is, there's not a lot of gold mines over there, but all the gold mines are over here in the Americas.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So it's just
Well, I think that where you're probably right is that there are. Well, I don't know. I mean, I also think this harkens back to when the land mass was together.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
So we'll find a propensity of people that when this place was together, we were living along that. But that used to be maybe off the coast of New York, which wouldn't put us that far away. We might have been in that little hub right there.
Yeah.
Split up. All of a sudden, they say that you're connected with Ghanaian people.
Yeah.
The Ghanaian people was over here.
Yeah.
Raj makes illusion that this is really Africa.
Yeah.
Aren't they finding like older pyramids now?
Absolutely, but this is why I say we keep going over this stuff, is that we need some reaffirmation about this. I mean, I think that that's part of it too. We just keep we're fighting this, the push of them trying to keep us in the dark when the light's right here.
The light's already. Yeah.
It's sunny right now.
Yeah.
I feel like adding into that, I was talking with my mom the other day. She again, a lot to greatest matter. She's talking to me about being too prideful, because she was the first person that showed when it came to, getting tax off and all that stuff, But she seen that there was other places that didn't, honor that and whatever.
Mhm.
There's the whole point of just not being prideful, or not being too prideful.
Yeah.
And just so prideful that it can stop yourself. Because even this economic downturn, there's a whole bunch of economists talking about some housing crisis that's about to happen. You know what I mean? Like the whole economy is going into the dirt. Like this is where we should be happy right now, like Nobody Ali did, they should have been filled with a whole bunch of more saying like, yo, this is the time, like these guys are finally going down. Babylon finally got to the black
again. Again, they're falling.
You know what I mean? Like this is 2008, but even better. Even pre 2008. You know what I mean? But just for my generation, you know what I mean? Like this is 2008. We now have something to do with it. That's
I mean, it goes back again to the work that they did on us to have us in this limbo place where we don't know if we're going, we don't know which way to go, and if we are going, there's so many pitfalls that majority of people aren't going to make it to the end of the end of the thing.
I think we talked about this before. I've already seen what this is. They've given us two options. Either you're going to be an entertainer or an athlete. Still an entertainer. That's going to put you in a position where we can control you. Plus, we're sort of breeding out the biggest bulls, whatever, and then we're going to destroy the female. You see anything to do with any female unless she's singing something
or
entertaining, they ever put some poll or something. They threw us Obama. They didn't even throw us Obama because they made him seem African. He should have been Ted Turner or some shit like that. You know what I mean? Or Obama Bay. That would have given us something, right? But I don't say that. But then he was also European. At the end of the day, right? His mother was a European. So at the end of the day, they were still throwing us signals. But aside from that, they have definitely programmed us to have a very small window to go into, which I think is the biggest part. And until we can have things that have our offspring look to espouse to be something other than LeBron, which is 1 out of 1.001% in the world.
Well, what other options? Because when I was growing up, it was like I always figured by the time I was 18, I'm going to jail. I'm going to.
Well, so there you go.
This is what I was born. I'm born to do this. You know what I mean? I try to tattoo myself.
Funny, my mother said to me, "You're either going to go into crime, marry rich, or work twice as hard as the next guy."
So the way I imagine it is like the door is there, right? And we're not allowed to go through. Otherwise, you're going to be compromising yourself. You're going to speak like them. You're going to talk like them. You're going to move like them. You're going to say good morning like them. Everything like that. So why would we want to go inside them and learn?
But it's interesting you make that mention because I've been accused of that a lot of the time, right, from that perspective. But then I think to myself, this is where they got you. They've got you distracted from being what it really is. They claim that, tell you that you're a fraud if you do that. So then you go to these other options. The dark side. It's crazy. But that's what I mean about even the intellectual stuff, right? Think about back in the day. Were you ever cool to go and study? Were you ever cool to go to to a library? No, you were called a nerd.
But ever since.
Yet in the Asian culture, that's where they spend. That's where they would spend their whole life.
That's what I was just gonna say. That even from our generation in high school, the Asians and Sri Lankan, Pakistani, whoever who just came here yesterday can't speak English. They're on honor roll and all this. How they on honor roll? They don't even speak English. You know what I mean? Like, what do they know? What do they have figured out that we don't have figured out? You know what I'm saying? And they ain't going to school dance. They're not playing on no teams. They're not playing any sports. You know what I mean?
No sports.
No sports. They might do thing actually. They might do track. They might do track. Ping pong and
Chess club.
Chess club. There'll be a chess club.
Or debate club.
Chess club, debate
club. I'm saying you look back to those things and you see where this was all founded, right? I mean, that was back when I was growing up. I was growing up around Magic Johnson and in that whole sort of era, right? That's what you were looking to do. You got it. Or James Brown or whatever, right? These were
entertained physically, but like
for the Hindus, the Chinese, it was entertainment for them was like stimulating the mind, you know.
Yeah.
For us, it was just like some
Entertainment was real entertainment. Yeah.
Show our dominance.
Entertainment them was a fiction.
right?
Our entertainment, you know what's crazy though? Like talking on this level, I feel like where we like, as far as up here, I feel like where we kind of lost our way is that we got to kick out of getting dominance over each other.
Mm. Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean? Like,
No, I think that's all that was left. They put us in a place that the only people that you were competing against was yourself.
Yeah.
And that was the block where there was nothing.
Yeah.
So then what it was drugs,
Yeah.
right? That was the angle, right?
Wants
Or
the
you see with a
territory.
lot of these cultures where if it's not drugs, then it's having babies.
Yeah.
That's what our culture was before, where you'd have 9 aunts. And what, you know what I mean? That you know, like my family too, we had 6 or 7 people. Like
Yeah.
this is what life was.
And a few years ago, I started to get to an age where like a lot of the sisters I would try to talk to is like, they're asking me, why don't I have a kid?
Well, absolutely.
Yeah.
But that's because the programming towards them, which I don't think is wrong, but what's happened is that they haven't given those sisters the latitude to be able to move beyond that.
Yeah.
They've just become that machine, and then they've also disrupted the whole aspect behind what that should. The machine should be being fed.
Yeah.
Be at home looking after the family instead, right? Man doesn't have enough money, he's unhappy, he's out there looking for gratitude somewhere else, right? Leaving the mother at home to kind of, you know, try and make this work. And that was the fall. Granny, remember? Granny was there.
Yeah.
Right?
That was the last.
That was-
Yeah,
and
that was the last.
And that was the last.
Yeah.
That was the last thing.
And then I got Granny out the way because
Right.
Granny's 12.
Right.
No, so now
absolutely.
here
Granny's
comes-
25
here
and
comes
going to the
Mr.
club-
Yeah.
and going to the club with her daughter,
Yeah.
who has a child.
Yeah.
Who has a child? Yeah.
But it's all orchestrated. You know.
Even speaking of that, all that. Meanwhile, children who go to ESL are getting honor roll in
Yeah.
school. You know what I mean?
It's real.
It's real.
Sis, you had any questions? Or comment? You had any questions? All right. All right.
Well, do you have any positions on this or on our issue in general as a people?
The issues?
Not issue, any position, like, what do you feel the issue is? Like, I felt continually that the issue is,
The issue is us. Like, I was surprised just to see just 4 of you guys in there.
Mm.
I thought it was gonna be a lot more people,
Yeah.
to be honest.
Yeah.
So,
well, we have, like, yeah, we've just come off of one of our major sort of holiday, not holidays, but I guess ceremonies. So we had about 20 last week, and so I think due to the cold and maybe sort of a little bit of a, what do you call it, a natural sort of valley, because it was a 2-day event last week. It was actually maybe 3, even a 3-day event.
Yeah.
So you might have
Including Friday.
minus 20, you know, people, they were here all last week, they might have taken a week off. So, but that, yeah. But yes, that's part of it.
yeah.
Right, that's
Yeah.
what we're talking about. As I said, that's why I tried to create a lot of these events to show the numbers, to sort of have some kind of video, not video, but
Some archive.
some
archive.
archival
Yeah.
stuff to sort of, to chronicle our position and our movement here. Hey, you guys are the Moors. Well, how do I know that? Well, that's because this is, you know, this is where we've been. This is what we do, right? You know, we were just talking about it. It's been about 10, 12 years, right? But a big part of our problem is the finances, I would think, right?
It's one of them. Yeah. Yeah.
Well, the finances, the people, right? You said 4 people were here. 4
Yeah,
people were here. You come every.
Yeah.
You know, you come every
We're the
Sunday.
women.
right?
Yeah, but I ask you this too. Where are the women in other organizations? Like I see the church next door, they're full of women.
Mm.
Or not full, but
The majority of
they're
women over there.
older.
Yeah.
But as I said, I think to myself, because I realize this, even with my elders, women don't seem to congregate together. They're the only thing, why? Right? Why? Because there's this innate, I was thinking there's this innate sort of competition, I think, or this animosity or something. We were trying to figure that out with Naeem.
Yeah.
Remember why it is that there's not more women? And what she said is because women don't trust each other.
The sister there. It's
Yeah,
only,
you know what's funny? Another woman said that same thing.
you don't even exist
Why
in
they have more
sororities.
actors and.
Well, fair enough. But remember this. I was beautiful you bring this up because I was watching the show where they were talking about the Greek system.
Yeah.
That's what the sororities are.
Yeah.
The Greek system. What's the Greek system? That's our shit.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Those are shit that they take in and take it into the universities where it's brothers and sisters. And you have your sister sorority and your brother sorority, and you get together and you're all of a certain ilk and a certain whatever, and you conquer. That's the Greek system that we're giving it, that's ours.
So I think there's a lot of wealthy so-called black people in those positions that try to work with themselves.
Well, yeah, I was talking to Kudo about this, places like Atlanta, maybe, certain places where we have a predominant number of us living in one place.
Yeah.
But yeah, it all does kind of go back to just, consumerism, as a lifestyle, being the lifestyle of certain people. Because even the whole, rich blacks and all that stuff. When I try to tell people that, like the best way we'll get freedom is not through, technically really living in the city, but we have to we're around a whole bunch of unconscious people that, we're just gonna cause confusion. It's like we have to kind of get a place where, let's say like some plot of land like far out in the boonies, you know what I mean? And really dig some ditches and put some houses there, and like we make a warehouse for our people to work in, so they don't have to
rely on
these people, and also the quality of life of not having to I forgot the word, but just work your life away. You know what I mean? Like not having to be under stress all the time. Like Prophet did say, we need warehouses. So
I feel like we spend so much time building for them now that we don't even want to build for ourselves.
Well, yeah, well, we're burnt out, but one of the other things is, as I was starting, when we were talking earlier about getting up to my friend's place and went on a little journey, I took some stuff to sort of hopefully help me but one of the things I realized with the land is it was quiet.
Yeah.
I had time to think. I had time to be able to separate myself from this.
From all the
which I think is that's what they talk about when they talk about these holy books about removing yourself from this.
Yeah, in this world, not of this world. Yeah.
And so I thought to myself, this is what it is about having your place and a place you can feel safe and not be caught up with this hubbub. Because one of my sister's friends, and I kind of believe this, or one of the colleagues that she has some farm where she lives away from all these, because she says for her, she's very sensitive to the stuff coming off of electronic.
Yeah.
The stuff is always coming off, so she's got one, maybe she's just, her brain is made that way, but being around computers and cell phones gives her a headache. And I thought to myself, it's probably giving us all that same thing. We're
traumatized to it.
So we're sort of under this sort of electronic barrage all the time, right? Especially if we're facing it, right?
Yeah.
It's like even that, like people who stay away from electronics, it's like, I made a joke with the man, I'm saying that they have like the real Wi-Fi.
Yes, absolutely.
Feeling the earth and
nature, tune with nature and all that. Yeah.
Like me personally, like I praise a lot, and I was more of a weird dude growing up. Like I grew up next to like the Humber, right? Humber River. So it was kind of like this little like country-esque place, like within the city.
Yeah.
So all the time I got to go to the river and just kind of like just look and meditate.
Yeah.
And I had to realize, a lot of people did not have that. You know what I mean?
Makes a difference. Yeah.
It's a big
difference.
We got our farm up in Cortland Lakes, and then another one of my boys who was helping us on that farm, he has a place like 2-3 hours north of Brampton, 60 acres of land. And when you go there, and then he has the whole forest side too, and I guess his neighbor, when you go into the forest, the neighbor like they kind of sectioned it off, like you can see where the line is exactly, but it's for the 60 acres, it's big land, like goats, chicken.
Yeah, absolutely.
And plant, food. Like you can go and you can bear arms there. You know what I mean? Just do whatever you want and have that peace,
Yeah. So but I think that unfortunately for that kind of community, you need to have as an example, I thought about it. If we were to have something like that, you'd have to have like a centralized, let's say, grocery, as an example, food, right? Your shelter, then you have your place where you get your food.
Centralize everything,
No, but I'm saying within a plot of land.
On the property.
I know what 80 to 60 acres
on the property
would look like. But that to me would be a start.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
But I think what the problem is that we've been divided, so they've been conquering us. Until we can come together to repel them and get some of those rights, i.e., here's your plot of land, now do with it.
Yeah.
We're gonna be in trouble. And then until we can start to, I think too, internally work out the stuff that has each one of us where we're at. Our families, are they healthy? you know, all this stuff, you know.
I think we can do it. I think it's just a matter of dedicating our own time aside from what we're doing, and it's like who's committed to really doing that. Like if we think of like Amish people and really
Absolutely.
like they're like now electricity.
Funny, you notice that whenever they're showing the Amish, you notice how that happens? There's always some house that goes down, right? Then all you see is this line of horses, right? And dudes and Lars and Hans coming out of the woods, right? And then they always have that scene where they're pulling up the side of the barn, and then they fast forward and the house is done and they're back eating again, right? That's a great. No, it's true.
We would need to like, you know, need a massive amount of people, you know what I mean, some equity, because I think you only can build certain structures on your land according to them.
Well, absolutely, but I realize that too. My buddy's up there, and what it is, it's you go up there and they've got the little Masonic sign, like Masonic hall there. These are Masons.
Yeah.
That's what's so you go in there, you mason yourself up, and you do business. You have to pay off some little 10 grand. He had his little dog kennel on the farm after that. That's just them. That's good. That's commerce. That's the commerce.
But they're cool about it too, because they're kind of happy to see us out there.
Well, brother, it's our shit. They're not. They can't be sure that you're not some black guy.
Yeah.
That's
Right? Especially if you got your pants halfway down by your hands, you got a blunt in your mouth, right?
That is big facts. That is big facts. Especially like recently I've been going to cottages lately.
It's crazy, eh?
Yeah.
I've tried to. We had some retreats here that I wanted to bring the rest of us into, getting out of town and just being out in nature. You guys, this was the last thing I was going to say. We were at our Noble Joy Day last week, and the guy had some potion. He was talking about taking chlorophyll, and he said that chlorophyll and your blood are off by one molecule.
Yeah.
One molecule. So chlorophyll is stuff that makes everything green, and your blood is off by one molecule. In chlorophyll, it's iron, it's iron, and in our blood, it's magnesium. So what that's telling is you and these plants are intimately one.
Yeah, exactly.
The heart chakra in itself is green.
Yeah.
Huh?
No, I said the heart chakra in itself is green.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
So that speaks volume.
Mm-hmm.
So anyways, that's where we're at. Just letting you guys know that, as I said, we're gonna find out what this UN says, but if we want, I keep going back to, or maybe I should say this is the year of the sundry-free Moors. What I'm looking at doing is anyone, or any of us who want to be sundry-free Moors, that should be the angle that we're at, from the perspective that we want to bring our people into this, but what are we as sundry-free Moors gonna do to establish establish ourselves, right?
Yeah. On top of what we've done or that is being done already.
Right, but I think to me, until, like we have this little acknowledgement up here that the mayor gave us for Indigenous Day, like to me, until I hear the mayor say, okay, we acknowledge you guys are Indigenous, to me, the battle is still on. Not that we have to have anything acknowledged from them, from my perspective, but until I think our pedigree is recognized on that corporate level, we still got work to do.
Yeah. Yeah.
That's how I see it. But more importantly, too, it's about fixing our families at home and our empresses, bringing them here, getting them here.
Yeah.
And I don't know how to do that.
Well, first starts yourself, right? And yourself, and it goes outwards. And then, it's a long road. What do the prophets say? Not unknown, nor, it's not unknown to man.
Even speaking on profit, it's like, we all have to, like the ones, like the ones who do know, it's like we have to really be ourselves and be out there and we show ourselves, because there are a lot of, like as people like Sabir like to say, incognegros, that they know about the information, but they still kind of like try to fit in with the crowd, they still try to like get the latest and all the other stuff.
Mm-hmm.
It's more or less like I seen this video. They're talking about armies and powerful armies. They're saying that China is not really as powerful as people think it is. They're just very uniform.
Mm-hmm.
It's just when you see them.
When you see it, it looks.
When you see it,
the appearance is
exactly
or the perception.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Them being uniform looks scary. It looks like oh my, like what the fuck? Like not a cuss, or like what the F? They're definitely gonna do something. But that's kind of when I hear that, I'm thinking, that would be the European looking death in the face. I'm going down to seeing like a city like so-called Toronto, going a place down a road like Jane, and every intersection you go to, there's at least 10 people, at least like 10 people with turbans or fezzes on, and really knowing what the turbans and fezzes mean, not just some fashion. I see it's a rapper wear it, so I want to be like that. It's like no,
knowing it,
knowing what it is. It's more or less like it's like we've been saying this whole conversation. You know who we are. It's just the fact of just more of us that are just incognito. That I want the Negroes, and they see the freedom. They see that they're on the open field, and all they have to do is just run over there. But then there's only one quote unquote Negro running over there, while the other Negroes are just there, just looking around doing this, and then Master's gonna go with like some random Negro just so they can not run away again. But the one who ran away got his freedom. The one who took the first step,
sacrificed,
the one who sacrificed got the freedom.
Yeah.
It's like I feel like what would make our people wake up a lot is for this whole Canada thing to crash, for them to not go on the Wi-Fi anymore, for them to not be able to go to Yorkville anymore, for them to wear some fancy clothes and for it to not matter because you're not going to eat fancy clothes. You know what I mean? Really taking in the fact that they messed up our communities with the music, the gang culture, and all this, that, and third. Like, it's easy for Asian people to link up and do things because they're not in neighborhoods gunning for each other. This generation, I know my generation, you can't walk through certain places because you're afraid of seeing certain people. I'm actually not all tough all they want, but it's scary going to certain places because
like who are you afraid of?
What should they about it? We're afraid of our own people because it's our own people that's coming for us. That's what's the problem is that
I catch up with that culture.
Guys are like,
want to bump into.
No, that's what I see. But even on that note, I had to learn recently. There's a big generational gap as far as people living up here for a long time. You know what I mean? There's the older gen where they kind of look at us like, you guys are just nothing but trouble. You know what I mean? But we are kind of nothing but trouble because our generation was the one that was the gangbanging culture, as far as so-called Toronto. You know what I mean? Not say there was never gangs. I'm talking about gang banging culture. At least the older heads back in the day, they could go places. You know what I mean? Nowadays, youngins can't go to certain places in the city.
That's what you're saying too is look at it from a sociology perspective. A lot of issues is with us calling, buying black, selling black, is that we won't really understand the sister that's, South American or Afro-Latina or whatever you want to call her, and she's one of us too, because now they're calling themselves black, and then because they're saying, I'm Dominican or whatever, she's not your sister. And because she has straight hair or whatever, they don't want to really deal with her. And then the mulatto chick, she's raised with a white mother but has a black dad, they're still trying to pick and choose now because, it's like, I'm black, you're not black, you look prettier than me. And then if they have the mothers already and the confusion that they have them, you know what I mean? I feel like that's the biggest, for me, it's that's one of the biggest threats that I have because it's I brought my friend there the other day, she's Persian nationality, and I've been showing her some things, and she caught on
right away.
I mean? She caught on. She woke up. Just off the things that I was telling her.
Yeah.
And I try to show a couple other African nationals. They'll catch it too, but some of them they just.
I find with a lot of them, they know what's up.
They know what's up.
They know what's up, and what I think it is for them, I start to realize is they know that the fraud of them being the original is a fraud.
Is a fraud, yeah.
So they kind of gotta play mum's the word because you ain't pretending like some Nigerian. You ain't our progenitor. You're just some Nigerian dude.
That's why they'll perpetrate the black cubes first.
Well, absolutely, absolutely. Because what it does is it leads back to the African.
Yes.
Right. So that gives them that, but then you'll notice they never call themselves African. They're Nigerian or Ghanaian. Right? Because they know that shit's some nonsense. So that's the problem with them, and that's where I think, as I said, I keep trying to push it. We just need to get a few of us. I was thinking about the other day. We got about 9 or 10 of us. We can get something together, focus on something, and
manifest that shit
and move forward in that way. Because, as I said, this stuff is this. They're not going to say, "Hey, listen, this is about taking you over, guys. This is about the end of it." No, they're just going to go ahead and say it's called COVID. That's what it's called. It's called COVID. That's what this is.
I had to look at people in the words when they're talking about well, our lives. So you know the whole thing, the word in itself, and they said they want to stop the transmission of the word. When you look at what the word means crown.
Yeah.
So again, they're telling us the whole time they want to stop the
At the
transmission.
European guy's place, I was talking about the whole thing, and she's like, yeah, and you know, if you drink a Corona, you get COVID. That's and I was like, yes. And I thought to myself, she might actually be right. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
You didn't have a Corona there.
How many people had a corona that got the freaking
You
thing?
know what I'm saying? But I mean, but it was as ridiculous as probably what this is.
Yeah.
Because the human being, the human body doesn't. Our bodies have been built to withstand
Things. Yeah.
Anything that's going on like this is some abstraction that they've created to further a political agenda.
Yeah.
That's what this is. Locking us down for 3 years. Look at, and you know what I was realizing today too, that we're now just seeing the beginning effects of what this has done.
The effect, yeah.
Like the result, you know,
Yeah.
Taj, I think, would say it's like getting punched and knocked out. You're still up for a couple of seconds. You still think you're
wobbly. Yeah, you're wobbly.
But you're
Yeah.
going down.
Yeah.
The problem is that this thing has sort of created this, what I was thinking about, it's called disassociation. We've all now just hooked into our own realities. We're no longer together, and,
Yeah.
and that's a problem.
Yeah.
If we're not in unison, then
Especially in the flesh being
absolutely,
used,
absolutely, and that's what they're fighting, because that's what I was talking about. So I'm at this thing, and this is the first of this hybrid thing, which is some people online and some people in person.
Yeah.
So we had 160 online, we had 30 in person. And one of the guys was saying, "Oh, I'm glad this is working." There's 1 or 2 people wearing masks. But at the end of the day, what I realized is that this aspect of controlling you on this device puts now an interface. If the internet's not working,
Then,
whatever. If your phone line goes down, all of these
Yeah.
ancient things where you used to go and knock on your boy's door.
Yeah.
You text him, and you're not, you know what I mean? If you're not texting him, you're not seeing him.
Yeah.
All this shit, right? Just
Oh,
the streaming, everything. It's what you want, not what the collective wants anymore, right?
Mhm.
What do I want to watch? This is what I want to watch. So I'm going to watch that specifically. Not, we would all be watching Sanford and Son
Yeah.
at
Yeah.
7 p.m.
Yeah.
on Saturday.
Yeah.
That's crazy.
They took away that. Yeah.
Well, this is the divide and conquer.
Yeah. For further
And then what
dividing.
it's done is it's isolating you and then causing whatever issues you have to become exponentially bigger.
Yeah.
Right?
Because now you're only dealing with it. Yeah. You're only dealing with the issue now. Yeah.
And then everyone's afraid to come into the oars to heal.
Yeah.
I gotta stay away from you because I might get.
Because I might get when nobody has anything around you. Yeah. By themselves in their car, scared to get stuff. Yeah.
It's like I heard the other day. Allah will curse you by giving you everything.
For
You know
real.
what I mean? So it's like everybody has. It's like
Yeah.
back in the day, like people had depression. Tell your mom's that, she's probably trying to make you feel better. Tell your pops that, you tell you, go do something.
Go do something.
Go do something. Get off the
Depressed.
house. That's exactly
Not
why you're
depressed.
Get off the house. You know what I mean?
Exactly why you're depressed. Playing video games all
Play
day.
video games. That's exactly why you're depressed. Nowadays, you say you're depressed. You go on the phone. You have like 50 other people talking about, yes, I feel that. Go through the secret.
Yeah.
Then they're gonna add on to your depression, talking about, oh no, you shouldn't try to fix yourself. When I try to fix myself, I want to crack.
Yeah.
It's just like, and it's just the whole thing of like, but it's the blind leading the blind. And again, with the knockout thing, we're missing the fact that they're dazed, and we're kind of just there looking at them, kind of like waiting for them to get back into their place. When it's like, oh, they're dazed.
Yeah,
They're literally just swinging at things that don't even matter. We're just standing there like.
They might even be knocked out right now. Knocked out, passed out, and we can't figure it out.
The ball on, right? There's law, there's common law, and then there's the legal situation that we're in. And I think what they've done is they've created this artificial legalese that none of us, we have no one here who has been a lawyer. You know what I mean? It's like certain people definitely don't. We don't have any doctors in here. We don't have any lawyers in here, right? These are the guys that have been really programmed about staying away from this. But we need to be able to sport in that reality, the reality that's coming across with an act. We should have had a team of people that would have been
on that ASAP. Yeah.
Right? We had people monitoring. This is what I said to Kujo. So within 2 years, so we've been fighting this UNDRIP thing for the last 8-9 years, using this in a lot of our
writs. But we haven't realized is within the last 2 years, very quietly, they've created a UN Act, which now is like the Constitution.
Constitution Act, yeah.
Right, which now is the facade or the illusion of the real.
UN declaration.
That now that they have put into law, and because it's their corporation and we haven't, what do you call it, repudiated it or
We acquiesced.
We've acquiesced.
Yeah.
So now we're in the act.
Yeah.
When
Now the
it's
act
law.
is here. Yeah, the act is here.
While we were getting our shit together and hitting them on the act, they were fighting us off and denying all of that shit, pretending we're not involved, and then they put an act in there. Now to say that this is the thing, that the interface.
This is the law.
Which is now keeping Canada back in power, at least for a few more minutes while they get their shit together.
Yeah.
Right?
And like you're saying, similar to, Articles of Confederation saying Canada's with the Constitution for the United States, they got the Constitution Act to get out of that.
Right.
And then they say, human rights, then they got the Human Rights Code of Canada. That's gonna take away from the actual human rights that everybody
then they've got Aboriginals,
has.
and then they've got what Aboriginals are considered under Canadian law.
And they're gonna keep going with what's gonna keep them in their little position.
And then you got
of
guys
power.
that know that look like us. When you come and start talking about black, they're like, "No, we're black. What do you mean we're black?"
Yeah.
Meanwhile, these are guys taking payoffs in the back to make
Yeah.
sure that you were pushing the
That
agenda
we stay black.
that you're black.
Or
come pray on
BIPOC.
Sunday here at
BIPOC,
the church. Or BIPOC, yes. Now we've got you running around in acronyms.
And anybody that wants to teach any youth or anything like that, you're basically saying that I feel like they're gonna be that threat. Because if you look what they're doing with Andrew Tate and everything like that, anybody that has that kind of power or influence to do that. I mean, we already had so many leaders and people trying to come, right? And then you kind of just X them out because they're like, probably weren't following what we should have been following in the first place.
But that's part of the thing too that goes with, just like you're saying, like once they cut off the head, and head's not growing back, they already know that they got the stuff locked down. As soon as they take a head, there should be 50 heads popping up. Like, oh yeah, no, you're not gonna get rid of him and think that you've ended something or you stopped something or whatever like that. We're matter of fact gonna be going harder now that you remove the head or you remove the leadership figure of our people or whatever. But our people need those individuals.
Well, like you're talking about, these are again sort of mini prophets that pop up.
Yeah.
Community leaders. This guy who's doing that. Problem is that we're not unified enough to know to back him in a lot of cases, right? He ends up being, like the neighborhood hero to a certain degree, but he's just a one-man
That's
off.
just one on.
Meanwhile, the parents are off. Dad's not home at all. Son's going there because like that home maybe isn't or whatever, right? I mean, I'm not even trying to denigrate the stuff at home but I don't know. Something's got to change. We've got to sort of start to have what I call like a base. This is where we're at right now. Now we gotta move forward, right?
Mm-hmm.
Because personally, that's what I tell people, well, this is our base. As far as the whole black stuff, if someone was to ask, the war is coming to any black thing, me personally, no, I'm not going to no black thing. I'm not going to fall for that. If they come saying, oh, we have a grant for, black people to open a black business, I don't care if they're giving out, $500,000 to say, you can keep 25. It's like, no, I'm not black.
But we got a position that we think that at the end of the day, we may have to speak that language to be able to access what they're doing on a certain level. That's what we thought. And I still think that, as I said, it's analogous to the so-called their license. Yeah. And they have to sport in that to get us ahead. Because something needs to jumpstart this. We got 4 people here.
Yeah.
Something needs to say, hey, you know what, you guys, people show up for the next year, you got an acre of land. We'll have 50 people in here.
Yeah.
That's how they get them on the other side.
Yeah.
Right? We'll feed your babies. Come and do this slave. And you go and you do it.
Yeah.
Right? So,
tell on your baby dad. We'll give you $5,000 a month or whatever. Yeah.
I do think about that sometimes. The prophet said, "And keep keep all open as it is, do our blue business and free nationalism.
Yeah.
But I think about that too. It's like, yeah, maybe you have to, speak their language, and because they are a corporation, they can't really deal with de jure like that. So why not just speak quicker? I do think that sometimes. I do.
Well, and as I said, it's where we're torn, but it seems to me that no matter what, I mean, we're not gonna be taking we're not selling out to get that, but it's not like we don't understand that there may have to be some perception of compliance with them to helping them help us in some certain way. Destroys them, but they're willing to help us, but they can't exactly just
Give it up
give
like
everything,
that.
you know what I mean?
Yeah.
You gotta, I don't know.
But it just goes to show the many different angles. Like even with when we're talking about sort of accommodating certain things with them, it's really just out of necessity. It's not we're undermining our nationality to have a license. We're not undermining our rights to have certain things. We're realizing that certain things we dropped the ball.
None of that.
So we're gonna have
It's like keep coming back to
we're gonna have to deal with them on certain
This is
levels.
the other part that I keep coming back to. These people aren't playing around. Keeping you exactly where you're at.
Yeah.
This isn't like, hey, bro, I know I'm not that, so give me a chance. No, you're that.
Yeah.
That's what's going on here. That's what's messed up.
Yeah.
They ain't saying, oh, you're saying you're selling your free more? Okay, here you go. No, you're this.
Yeah.
And if that, if you speak up against that, we're gonna mess you up.
Yeah.
That to me shows that level of malevolence and
But it also shows how right we are in our position. If they're gonna come up with a UNDRIP act or whatever like that, then obviously we're doing something right. You know what I mean? For them to go that far shows that we're doing something right. Islam Wars. We'll have we'll be back next week.
Oh no, right? Or,
No, you'll be here. You'll be
yeah.
We also have town hall coming up sometime soon. We'll keep you posted on that, as well as there might be there might be a February Black History Month, right? For Ottawa, there might be something.
Yes.
Yeah. Okay. So we'll keep you posted with all that. Yeah. Going out there. Yeah. Peace, Morris. 5 on the left, 2 on the right. Allah, the Father of the universe.
Allah, the Father of the universe.
Father of love.
Father of love.
Truth.
Truth.
Peace.
Peace.
Freedom.
Freedom.
And justice.
And justice.
Allah is my protector.
Allah is my protector.
My guide.
My guide.
And my salvation.
And my salvation.
By night.
By night.
And by day.
And by day.
Through our holy prophet.
Through our holy prophet.
Noble Juali.
Noble Juali.
Islam.
Islam.
Islam, Morris.
Yeah, that was just about the investment report. We're going to look to do that in the first week in February. All right, so keep you abreast of that, because Kudo's going away next week. So he's doing some touring now, right? So now that this COVID thing has ended, he's now getting out there, which, I think to myself, hey, I want to go on these things. I got some beef from back in 1991 that's stopping me from coming over the border, right? But it's that kind of shit now, what they're asking for is now
Islam
$1,000,
was-
basically, a little waiver or whatever, which I'm going to do, but you can understand how just their resistance is what my father lives down there. I haven't seen him in 15